caring for your family during these times is admirable. But you only get one take at this life.
If only they would just die.
Pardon?
Nothing. I want to be special, dancing up on the screen like the pretty girls in the pictures.
I will not let you leave this farm again.
I'm worried there may be something real wrong with me. Rumor has it they only take one gal per town.
We're looking for someone with X Factor.
Has to be me.
How about a film nobody else has seen?
Is it legal?
Will be eventually.
I know what I've done. Bad things. Terrible, awful, murderous things. I want to be loved from as many people as possible. But truth is, I'm not really a good person.
We're here, and Bonnie is there.
I put on blush because I was getting nervous that I looked dead.
You look beautiful.
I looked a little too goth for the show.
You look beautiful.
Thank
No
you.
such thing, Goth. No such thing.
Hi, we're late.
We
Hey,
are
everyone.
slightly late. We've had a bit of a hiatus. We're all a bit giggly, having a pre-chat. So but we are here. We are back. So exciting.
I'm even retweeting our night shift.
Oh, good.
Twitter. Are people still on Twitter? I don't know anymore. Wait,
I still call it Twitter. I will forever call it Twitter.
Call it Twitter as well. So
you know the story about X, right? Like Elon tried to name other companies he started X, and they wouldn't let him. And then he also tried to name one of the children he had with Grimes X, and she wouldn't let him. So now it's Twitter is the child is X. So whatever. When you're that rich, I guess you can do whatever you want. So, but I'm not calling it X because it sounds like not Twitter. And Twitter's what I love. So we're calling it Twitter.
It's always going to be Twitter. That's all it is. But,
yeah.
Yeah. But this is exciting because the first movie we ever did on the night shift was Ty West's X.
Yeah.
So that was our very first movie back in, 2022?
Back in the olden days.
Yeah, in the olden days. Yeah. So in June 2022, if you go back on our channel on YouTube, you'll be able to find that original episode, which was a really good episode, by the way. So we're kind of revisiting, going back. Now we're going to talk about Ty West's prequel, which was Pearl. So, and then eventually we'll be coming back to do Maxine, but this is, second instance. So let's do this one first. I'm really excited to talk about this one because I know both Bonnie and Jenna really liked this one. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited to sort of hear a bit more about that from both of them. I really liked X more than this one, but I like them both. But so I'm excited to hear like the reasons why both Jenna and Bonnie really enjoyed this more so than the other. So for me, that's a really good thing. And I rewatched it for the second time today. So
okay, so I will be blunt. I meant to rewatch it again today. I haven't seen it since July because I watched it before I went to see Maxine.
Yes.
So it's still kind of fresh in my mind, but I know more will come as we start talking about it. I'll be like, oh
yeah. Yeah. Well, I had to have
it 3 times. I've watched it 3 times, so it's not like it's new.
Oh well, yeah, you haven't. Yeah, exactly.
I think this might be. I feel like this might be my 8th watch of Pearl.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's dedication, Bonnie.
Yeah, I think
there's other movies out there you can watch.
But yes and no, because I don't know if you know this about me, but and this could be my ADHD personality. I'm not sure if this is an ADHD thing, but if I like actually it is. If I like a movie, I will watch it over and over. Like I'm like a small child. who likes one child's film and just makes their parents watch the same Pixar movie over and over and over and over.
Okay.
I'm like that.
I'm like that with music. I'm like that with music and songs.
Yeah,
like I'll
same.
listen to a song that I love so much, and at the end I'll
Yeah.
be like, okay, let's listen to it again.
And I think a lot of people are like this, and I watch a lot of new stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a horror fanatic and I watch so much. In fact, we're kind of like spoiled for choice because there's so many great things out with Shudder, but also Max. All the streaming sites have really good horror selections. Even like Tubi has some of the best horror, and Tubi's free. So like, and Freeverse has a bunch of stuff, and that's free as well. And even Pluto TV. So I shouldn't say even. Pluto TV has its own like merits as well. But I watch a lot of new stuff. I go back and I go through phases where I'm like, I just want to watch Italian Gallo horror, right? Or I just want to watch vampire stuff. Or I just want to watch schlocky slashers from the 80s. Or I just want to watch ghost stories. So I go through phases. But with Pearl, I feel like Pearl, this is why I like Pearl, just to get into it a little bit more. I like Pearl better than X. I love X. Don't get me wrong. X is a great movie. It's fantastic. There's twists and turns. There's sex. There's beautiful people. There's not so beautiful people. There's scary crap. It's great. Go watch our review of it, our very first episode, and you'll see how much I like it. But when I saw Pearl, and I don't like prequels that much, especially if they go all the way back. And I'm not a big fan of movies that take place during World War I don't know why. I'm just not. I think there's a few exceptions to the rule, like Rebecca Hall's ghost story one where she's like Ghostbuster, and it takes place right after World War I in like an orphanage. That one I like. I can't remember the name of that. What was that called? It starts with an R or something. It doesn't matter. Anyway, my point being, I don't really like that time period because it's in America, because it's also just gut-wrenchingly sad, right? And it's before the Depression, the Great Depression, but it's still, when you're in the Midwest and that's happening and everyone's gone because they're at war, and the women are left behind to take care of farms, and farms are not easy to take care of. And, you get a lot of that dread in Pearl, right? But the thing about this movie I love is you find out, you don't get right away that she's going to be a killer. She just seems kind of like a clueless narcissist girl who, and I don't think narcissist, I think she just wants off the farm, which is a trope in horror and sci-fi. Hello, Star Wars, Luke Skywalker. Everyone wants off the farm. I grew up on a farm like area, so like I get it, but
I know now I want a farm. So.
Yeah, now I know.
What does that say about me?
Oh no, I'm full like I am
farm.
trying to get out of LA and become a full-time forest witch. Trust me, I want out. But
Let's do the simple life. Let's do our own version.
I know. But what I love about this prequel is you get her as a young person, because you see her as an old person in X. That's where we're introduced to her, right? But you don't really know her story other than bits and pieces that her husband talks about. You see pictures of her on the wall when she was young. You get this impression that she was this successful dancer. That's what I thought. Like, I thought, oh, she was like on vaudeville or something or whatever it was at the time, and now she's here at this farm. But that was not the case. And it's almost like a reverse Wizard of Oz, where it's like, what if you're stuck on the farm and nothing great happens? But in your brain, you want it to happen. And her mother is just this horrible, domineering, doesn't have any joy in life whatsoever. And I don't want to say it's because she's German, because I'm sure there's happy German people, but she just was very like hard, like very hard. And this is reality and you need to snap out of it. And nothing, she didn't let her daughter have any kind of joy in anything. And the dad is like,
her life sucked though too.
Right.
Her mom's
well, her life sucks too, but I do have, when we get into the parenting discussion, I'll have some thoughts. But the reason I liked Pearl was you get to really understand Pearl. You get to understand, okay, this is why things happen the way they did in X. But also I felt, and maybe I'm psychotic, but I felt sympathy for her. I mean, until killing innocent little animals that just want to be your friend, that's when I was like, nope, she's evil. But I really like the storyline because you really did get to see her psychosis from her point of view. So you get to see this unrealistic view of what she thinks she's capable of and what she should have. And then you see everything happening around her. You see people being nice to her. There's not everyone in her life isn't a jerk. So you see that, but you see her cruelty coming through a lot, especially with that alligator, which we had an introduction to the pet alligator in the pond in X, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I did like this prequel for that. And I think it is more than just, oh, we're showing why she's insane. Like she's a very complex character. And that's what I like about that movie is that, and all of his movies, because they show character building. You don't just throw evil at it and go, oh, she's evil. Like you see why it happened the way it did. So I really like that for the story. I like the characters. I love the music because it's set like a old-timey, not old-timey, but like a sweeping saga, like Gone with the Wind kind of music. It's not modern. It's not new. It feels like you're watching an old movie like Gone with the Wind because of the music score. The visuals are stunning. It's a beautiful movie, beautifully shot. Costuming's great. Use of color is great and very strategic. So yeah, I just love this movie. And every time I watch it, this is why I watch it a lot. Every time I watch it, I pick up something new. So I think that's why I like watching it over and over, is because I noticed things I didn't notice before. Yeah. And this time I watched it, I actually timed how long her soliloquy is. Like it's not really soliloquy because Mitzi's there at the kitchen table then listening to her talk, because she's saying, just say what you would say to your husband if he was here, because she's upset. And that is like almost a 10-minute long monologue. And then I also timed the end credits where she does that forced smile. That's a 3-minute smile that just gets more and more psychotic. So those were things I didn't notice before, but I noticed for this because I wanted to rewatch it for our show and notice those things I didn't notice before. So that's in a nutshell why I like it better than X. Though I have not done a second rewatch of Maxine, but I have watched Maxine. I do like Maxine, but for different reasons. But I like Pearl. I think Pearl is my favorite in the trilogy.
I think Pearl is my favorite in the trilogy too. I just think it's the most complex. I think there's like more layers. I think the storyline is more like thought out. I think I like the kills better. I don't know. I think I think I'm a little bit biased towards X just because I found so many problems with the porn stuff.
Yeah,
and it just kind of made me like, I don't like it when people portray porn stuff as sad. But I mean, we're not doing Maxine right now. I have so much to say about Maxine that I'm like,
we will though. We will.
Yeah,
I know. I wish, but it's funny because then I watched Maxine and there wasn't enough of the porn stuff, and I was kind of like, I got like ripped off a little bit.
They need you on staff as like they need you as a consultant or something.
You know what? I thought about that the other day. I really should like just pay me $500 an hour, and I will tell you what.
Yeah, you should just 100%. Like the. Yeah, I mean, I'm super. Yeah, I want to watch. I haven't watched Maxine yet, so I'm excited to see it because everyone that I've spoken to has said that I will like Maxine and X the most, and I want to know why people.
I have mixed feelings. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to see.
I think it started off strong, and I think it gets weak.
Okay.
I think it falls into too many tropey type like things, but we'll get into it on a different one. So
we'll get on a different episode.
With Pearl, I have to agree with a lot of stuff that Bonnie said, of course, of the reasons of why I like it as well. I think that it felt more like so much more cinematic. It felt like there was more put to it than X. X felt a little bit less thought out as far as like the whole construction of the project, whereas like I feel like they really put a lot of effort into Pearl and a lot of.
Do you think that was strategic though, because they're trying to make it like Chainsaw Massacre and have it be not?
That's what I thought. Like, yeah, because this is more like Wizard of Oz and Mary Poppins, and X was very much Texas Chainsaw. So you had all those.
Because it's grainy and not.
It was all like the angular, the upward, and like very strategic, but in its different ways, I think. So if you like I feel like a lot of the people that I know that really love Pearl love like, the Gone with the Windy and, all of that vibe, which is not my vibe. I don't like those movies. I hate them. Like, I would rather kill myself than watch Gone with the Wind. Like, I hate
it. It's such a good movie.
I
it's problematic in a lot of ways, of course, looking back at it, like a lot of things are. But and there's ways that it could have been done better. But I think it still is a cinematic masterpiece. It's actually like I've watched The Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
I want to say like 50 times because
my
sister's favorite, and like my sister's and my mother's favorite movie of all time. So I have like
you've seen it a lot, yeah.
I was almost named Scarlet. My mom thought about naming me Scarlet because
isn't their daughter called Bonnie? Bonnie Blue? Bonnie Blue is the name of the daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why this film didn't resonate as much with me, is because those films are kind of lost on me.
Okay.
Like,
I also
Gone
feel
with
like
the Wind is like one of the films I didn't like from that era, but there are some that I do like. Like that are very different. Like The Red Shoes is one of the most amazing movies ever. Love
never
that
seen
movie,
that.
but it's not.
Oh, it's
It's
pretty.
darker. It's not as, you know. But I love
Well,
Wizard of
yeah.
Oz. I love Wizard of Oz. But like, yeah,
No, I
think
have
maybe
to say, I'm with John Waters on Wizard of Oz, where I'm like, why do you want to go back to Kansas? I was born and raised in Kansas, so I'm like, why would you want to go back to Kansas, which is just
she's
dirt
happy
and
at
dust?
home.
I know she has a good family life, but like if she had a bad family life, I would be like her, where I'd be like the opposite. I'd be like, no, I'm staying here. Like I have my dog. That's all I need is my dog.
Yeah.
So I have Toto. I'm staying in the colorful place. I'm not going back to like Dust
No,
Bowl.
for real. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, I would.
Not going back to Kansas. No thanks.
Yeah, I'm staying with the drag queens and the witches.
I
Drag
would like
queens, witches.
maybe, I don't know, maybe a bit more like, I don't know. I think I would have more liked a bit more like delved into the relationships. Like the first 30 minutes, I think could have been a lot less.
A Pearl?
I felt like I got quite like, come on. Like I would have loved more dynamic with the mother and the father and her, like and really deeper and grittier into
I think
that.
a lot of the focus on this film is really was allowing Mia to like really show her acting in a lot. Like I feel like her I feel like her acting in X was good, but then I feel like her acting in Pearl got even better. And then I'm sorry, but we're not talking about Maxine, but there's a part in Maxine where her acting is like so. And I was in the theater and I was just like, like
she won quite a few awards for the acting in Pearl as well.
Oh, she's so good.
So
good.
I was a little disappointed though, to be honest, that, and maybe this is just my storytelling brain, right? That I wanted to go back a little further. Like I would have liked to see when she latched on to the guy that she's going to marry. Like I would have loved to see her be psychotic and silenced, because there's the whole thing of this resonated with me. Her speech at the end, when it got weird, but there were parts of it where I'm like, oh wait, that's me. Where I never felt like I belonged anywhere. Where I felt like I
was like, are you going to explain what you mean by that? He's just like,
sorry. Yeah. I'm not a killer. I don't kill people. No, I felt like it resonated. I mean, I know exhibit number A, this is not going to be used in a 48 hours special later when I go psycho. No, I resonated with the fact where she didn't feel like she belonged anywhere. Her family didn't understand her. She didn't, she on and on, right? But she does talk about like, and because she's not talking to Mitzi as Mitzi, her friend across the way, right? She's talking to her as though she's talking to her husband, who is in World War I, because Mitzi's like, talk to me like I'm your husband. And, Mitzi's just like, she thinks she's just sad. She doesn't realize she's getting this huge confessional, right? That's horrifying to listen to from Mitzi. So I don't know how Mitzi kept it together. But anyway, when she's talking about when I met you, I knew that you were different and you could take me away from all this. And she's talking about all this. And I wish I'd seen it. Like, I know it's a trick, like a device trick of, well, we don't have a budget to go all the way back and show what it was like when she met her husband for the first time, and when her dad could still talk, and when her mom and dad and her maybe had a different kind of family dynamic. Like I wanted a bit more of the beginning, not where we start in Pearl. So I wanted to see, what was the dad like when he wasn't injured and could talk and could be like when he could be what, the mom married him for.
What was the mother like?
For you to think about, like, so some things have to be like, it can't all be illustrated for you.
No, I know. And I'm just saying that's
John in the comments right now said that he thinks that by not showing more of her relationship with her at war fiance, it continues to highlight the suffocating isolation she feels. And I can agree with that. I mean,
I'm saying the movie's great as is. I think I'm just greedy.
I'm just greedy.
You just want to know everything. But I think that the magic of some stories is that you are left to wonder about certain elements.
Well, no, and it doesn't have to start like that.
I like kind of like, I don't know, like
I could have flashbacks. I guess I just wanted more. I wanted more flashbacks or something. I don't know, but I do love that this is a Pearl movie. We're learning about Pearl. This isn't about everybody else. We don't learn about Mitzi and her mom.
Which
we don't
Pearl
learn about
and X was creepy.
Yeah,
so creepy. Ew.
Yeah, so I do like that we get some stories, and the speeches that Mia gives and the people she interacts with in this movie are very interesting. Like the projectionist that she has an affair with.
Oh, that's hot.
Because she thinks, but she thinks he's going to take her to Europe. She thinks she's going to Europe, though. I mean, that's he is hot. He is hot. But I don't know. I just love this movie because I do like the other characters.
She's horny. She's like very horny throughout.
Well, yeah, when you like hump a scarecrow, which I guess is a real doll
very
in their
horny.
world.
I think there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of underlying elements in this movie about not just like the isolation, but the limits that were placed on women as far as like the trajectory of the life that they could have, and what, how small the sphere of their reality was, like, and how, oh my God, in that time, can you imagine expressing that kind of sexuality or that kind of, what I mean? Like, no, but like now we look at women like that in a very different light. We're like, oh yeah, girl, get yours, go get your rocks off too, just like a man would, but like back then, like women couldn't express any kind of
no.
And her husband's gone too, so like, oh my God, what is she gonna do?
And like,
I don't condone cheating, though. I don't condone cheating.
No, I know, but I get it. I mean, there's probably like
writing letters, like you just live for a letter, like that would blow my mind. Like these women like dedicate themselves to a man they've never had sex with, they've never like anything, and they just write letters back and forth for years and years while they're at war. Blows my mind.
No, I do wonder during that time, was there some kind of unspoken rule of open marriage, open relationship? I mean, they're going to be gone for a long time. They're having sex with European sex workers and stuff. They're not, and maybe so it's not like they're celibate.
That was okay for men, right?
That was okay for men, but I don't think women. I think it was very chauvinist in those times that it wouldn't.
Because women were thought of as more of a property and things.
Oh no, you would have to do it 100% on the down low. I'm not saying they'd have to be obvious about it, but I'm sure there were affairs. I'm sure there were a lot of affairs.
Oh, there definitely would have been, but I mean, definitely their husbands did not know. Like their husbands weren't like, why I'm over there doing this? You just go on.
Yeah, that's a good point. It probably wasn't as like free spirity. Yeah, that's true. That's
definitely
true.
not.
Point.
Especially in those farming towns and like, no, probably not, but have a lot of religion and stuff like that. So I doubt no.
No,
but yeah, actually, John does pick it. Like, there's a chapter black. Does mention something that is funny, which is the reports of lots of lesbian relationships during World War II. Which, yes, that's definitely a thing.
Well, I've spoken about this before. I just consider everyone bisexual until they tell me they're not. So that's just my default. So I'm like, it's whatever.
You can see how that can happen, though. Women bonding over trauma, bonding over their isolation and the repression, and having to be, I can see very much how that happens. Take out and without, there's only like the certain type of men left when everyone else is gone.
And sometimes it's just about connecting too. Like loneliness is hard. And sometimes it's just when you find a strong connection with someone, that's what you latch on to as well. And I would assume in that time it was interesting that this movie is going through the Spanish flu at the same time. And we were going through COVID, right? When this movie came out. So there were definitely some parallels, I think, for a lot of us. Because when did this movie come out? Do we know when it was out? Was it 2020?
It was 2000. It was 22.
22. So we'd already gone through
right here, everyone.
What?
It says episode 15, Pearl, 2022.
Oh yeah, we did an episode. I was trying to remember because I don't think it was. I thought it was in theaters, but I couldn't remember at that time if a lot of people were going back to the theater. Is what I'm trying to remember.
It came out. I don't know what.
We're rusty, everyone. We're a little rusty.
Yeah,
I just don't remember time or the passage of time.
Like
so
4 or 5 months after X came out. Like
okay. Yeah, so it was interesting that was in the movie, or maybe I'm just noticing it more. I'm noticing plagues more in movies because of COVID, but the isolation was good. I think that time period was good. Being on a farm in the middle of nowhere, that really they nailed it, because I know what that's like, and that's definitely pretty factual. But also just this level of there's got to be something better. Her argument that she has with her mom, aside from the murderous part, I had that same argument with my mom of there's got to be something better, and my mom getting mad thinking that I thought I was better than her. And I was like, I just want something more for me. I don't want your life. I want
and different. Like, just because, one person's idea of happiness may be a farm and like, tending to animals and things like that all day. And another person's idea of happiness and bliss might be adventure or,
or anything other than being on a farm.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And at that time period, like you said, there weren't a lot of options for women. There really weren't. So, you know,
I mean,
and her
look how
mom
young she is. She's already married. She's like a little baby.
Yeah.
yeah, and she got married because she wanted off the farm, and he was like, no, we're staying. So that was sad. But also she didn't want a child at all. Her speech about the baby was very interesting. And when she said the baby died, she basically had a sigh of relief because she didn't want to be in. But the way she said it, it wasn't that she hated babies. She just found life so terrifying that she didn't want to be in charge of another person's life. And to me, because she couldn't even fathom how she's going to get through her life. And that resonated with me because that's one of the reasons I didn't have kids. Because I was just like, I barely can take care of myself. Like I took care of a dog for 17 years and I was very proud of myself for that. But a child is a whole other ball game. So I understood that. But she also just wanted freedom. And the minute you have a kid, your freedom's gone. So it's like,
Well,
I mean, the way
another reason I love this movie is that there's like very strong feminist undertones, you know, throughout it. Just like, you know, I think that's kind of, I think that's in all of his though, you know, all of these films, they have that sort of vibe. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Me?
Yeah, Renee, what do you think? What did you think of the mother-daughter relationship?
Me?
Either one of you. Either one of you. Renee. Either one.
Or like, I mean, it like, look, I'm like, huh? You mean me?
We are rusty. This is our first show in so long.
Look, I felt uncomfortable. There was parts about the mother thing that resonated. With my relationship with my mother is very bad. So like there's moments in there that felt like not the same way that I guess that like Pearl's, you know, what she wanted to do, go out but resonated in the sense that I felt, you know, pressured or like repressed and pushed down for wanting something that wasn't that. You know, my mother was very much a, you know, family, you just got married, had kids, got a job.
Yeah.
And so she didn't understand why I didn't want to do the same thing, why I didn't want to be, stay in the small town, why, you know, like why I wanted more. And, you know, that often put us at odds a lot of the time. So,
you know, and that's also, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's it. Yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah. So that put us at odds a lot. And I felt like the scene that really, I think one of them, it's not really, I shouldn't say favorite, not like in a like yay happy way, but like one like there's a few scenes of the film that stayed with me, and one of those scenes was the scene when her and the mother are having the fight, and then, you know, are you better than me and all that, and then when she says to her about I can't think of what the exact line is, but it's about how she's saying that to the mother, and the mother says, "That's how I feel about you every day. I look at you," type thing. And and that, like, I felt that because that is the relationship, that one line sums up the whole relationship between me and my mother and how she felt about me. So I felt like watching that, it was kind of a bit like, ooh, like, and especially that it was, I guess, in a different time period and a different context entirely. But that feeling, like, I was like, I know that feeling. And that's it is a feeling not only of, you know, feeling like unworthy, but feeling trapped, feeling like so isolated and lonely because no one understands, what you're striving to do and what you want to do with yourself and your life, and feeling like you're letting people down for just wanting to do something better. Like, I think so that one line was super powerful for me because I just felt like we didn't see a lot. We saw a bit of the dynamics between them, but we didn't go too deep, I feel, into it. But that one scene that, like, you really felt not only that, but like the contempt and resentment that the mother had towards the child. Like, and that I really felt, because that's something that was in my own relationship with my mother. Was she said things very similar to that about, me ruining her life or her not ever wanting me, blah, blah, blah. So that was like, ooh, mini, like, I was like, okay, I can relate to where this is sort of like coming from. But I actually felt really sad for the dad. Like, the dad, like, just sitting there having to watch all of this all the time, and like, it kind of,
poor dad.
We don't know what the fourth father was like, but assuming he was an okay guy, but like, you know, what we saw, like, I just felt like he has to sit and hear and listen and watch all of this, and like, that's the scene when, right before he dies, like when she's got the dress on and she's like, how do I look? And he's crying, and I'm just like, oh gosh, like, poured out. And even like the scenes where she's in the bath and like talk, like he's kind of like a sort of like her best friend, like an imaginary, not imaginary friend.
He's a good listener.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's like kind of just there. He's like an imaginary friend, but really a human there. And she just like goes through the motions
just
and her
a silent
thinking.
witness.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm glad you brought up the mother-daughter thing. I don't want to get too confessional because I mean this is a public video. I don't want this to get back to my family, but my mom and I have not
later.
Well, my mom and I have not had. I've always during Mother's Day is hard for me because I've had friends who are like, my mom's my best friend, and like they all have like these great relationships with their moms, and mine was never like that. My mom was never a mom's mom. She was, she wasn't like cruel in the sense of like this mom in Pearl, but she definitely was about her life. And I was just kind of an extra in it. You know what I mean? Like I was in it, but it wasn't about me. It was about her all the time. And at least that's how I felt. I mean, she was different with my brother. So my brother had a different mom than I did in the sense that she was just different with him. And I did get the sense of, who do you think you are? Because I never thought of myself as better because I have crushing self-doubt. I have crushing imposter syndrome. And I don't, as a default, I don't like myself and I think everyone hates me. So I spend my whole life trying to please others, trying to be what everybody wants, right? So I can have friends and have a life. But at the same time, I had aspirations to be a writer. I had aspirations to leave the Midwest and go to either New York or California, San Francisco, LA. I really just wanted to leave the country, to be honest. And I just wanted to go to London or something and be a fabulous bohemian writer. So my aspirations at that age were probably just as weird as Pearl's, right? Or just unrealistic. But I wanted to be a writer. I just wanted to leave. I wanted to lead a creative, artistic life. And when you live in the Midwest, especially in a farm or in an area that's very family football faith, they don't really have a lot of spots for the weird goth girl who wants to be a writer, right? So watching that, I probably projected a lot, which I'm trying to use like fun psychological terms because I'm trying to impress Jenna right now. But I'm like,
because I haven't been in school in like 4 months and I haven't been working in mental health for a few months, taking a little break. So I'm kind of resting.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just
so bring it back to me.
Okay, I'll bring it. Okay. But I will say that argument she has. First of all, the fact that she kept it together with her mom that long, because I would have murdered her mom very early on in the movie, just because of how she's been treated. If I was Pearl, not me. If I was Pearl, I should really preface this because I sound psychotic, but no. So I was like, at least slap her back. Like, at least I was glad that kind of happened. I was not glad that she set her mom on fire. She did put the fire out, to her credit. But I mean,
fire was great, though. What a great scene.
But what a great scene, right? And it was almost like very Wicked Witch of the Wicked Witch of the West, right? With the Oz theme going. But I was just like, yeah, I've had that argument. And also, there's something you need to know about farm people specifically, because I grew up with farm people specifically. You do not ever.
I'm sorry, anybody who lives on a farm.
No. This is true, though. This is true.
People.
No. I mean, it doesn't mean it derogatory. If you live on a farm, you're considered.
No, I'm just saying it just sounds hilarious. It's like
farm people call themselves that. Farm people call anyway. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is the thing they don't like is they don't like it when people say, "I want something better," or "I want." Because it makes it sound like their life that they chose is not good enough or not cool enough.
Right. But it is an honest way to live, and it's a pure way,
and it's hard.
It's a classic, not pure. It's a classic.
People that like live on a farm and choose to be on a farm, that's a hard life, but it's in their blood. It's like being a cowboy, or you know what I mean? Like I come from rodeo people too, and rodeo people they won't retire. They that's in their blood. They have to do that. So it's same with farm people. If it's in your blood, it's your life, right? So to have a child who's like sticking their nose up saying, no, I want something better. I could see where that, but it's not just that with her. She's an immigrant. She came from a hard life, and she's looking at her daughter spending that extra 8 cents on hard candy when they're very poor, and 8 cents back then was a lot. So it was like, I could see how she's mad at Pearl, because Pearl's also in her own freaking dreamland, and Pearl is like, not in reality at all. And that's got to be frustrating for a hardworking first, first generation. She's not even first generation immigrant. She's an immigrant coming to this country, and that's from Germany at a time when it was probably also very hard. And she's like, why do I have this daughter who's got her head stuck in the clouds wanting to be like a movie star when she should be feeding the pigs? And also, don't kill the freaking farm life for fun. Like, and also she's taking out my husband to say hi to the alligator. Like, what the hell? So I get where her mom's coming from, but her mom was just like, would not let Pearl even have a tiny bit of happiness. And that's what really pissed me off. Because it's like, you made this child also, you are a parent. So you could have at some point, I don't know, maybe seen some red flags, because I don't think this is new. She should have known Pearl was psychotic. So it was kind of like, you can't hide that from your parents. And she did say, I see what you do when you think no one's looking. So she knows. So it was just a very complicated relationship. And I always have questions. Every time I watch that movie, I'm like, wait, did she know her daughter was psychotic and she's just trying to keep a lid on? Is she trying to protect the rest of the United States from Pearl? And that's why she doesn't want her to leave? Just say that. But whatever.
I feel like she probably didn't know her daughter was psychotic. I feel like she probably just, like, if I was to look at my own childhood.
Yes. A lot of times it's really.
I was as fucked as Pearl was. I played with myself, not myself, played with myself.
I mean.
Maybe a different time, but yes, not that kind. But yeah, like I was always alone in dialogue and all these kind of grand kind of, diatribes within invisible situations and whatnot. So I could have been crazy too. Like, so I think she probably didn't think that of her child. And like,
well, I think that it's also oftentimes it's harder for parents in some situations to see those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Some
parents see stuff that's not there in their kids just because.
Or they see it, they choose not to do anything about it too. There's that. Because I'm sure there's plenty of parents out there.
Thing because they don't want anything to happen to their baby.
Or they just don't. They just don't remember the time. The time that it was made was not a time that you would be even talking about or thinking about whether your child had psychotic problems. You know,
back then you just put them in an asylum and
that's what I mean. Like, so
there is a solution. It's not a great one, but they send them off to an asylum or an orphanage is what they usually would do. Yeah. But she was also free labor, so she's not going to get rid of her because she's free labor. So she's not going to get rid of the farmhand. That's her daughter. Because then she'd have to really do everything. And she's also taking care of her dad with her mom. It's not just her mom. It's her dad. She's washing her dad, cleaning up the mess, feeding him. So you don't want to get rid of the other person.
I feel like the mother had a lot of shit going on. I feel like the mother had a lot of trauma and psychosis herself, because just the way that she like deflected a lot of things. Like, look, she was angry. Not only, I feel like she was more angry at Pearl and the father, like for taking her life away. And maybe she wanted to be someone amazing. Yeah. And that was taken from her. Yeah. And that's why she harbors so much anger, which a lot of these family, terrible family dynamics and all of that usually trickles down from someone else having the same thing. So, it's probably likely that Pearl's mother wanted to be something really great too, and she had everything stolen from her. So, I mean, that's not to give it, not to give her an excuse for behaving that way, but kind of, and that could also lean into maybe, I don't know, Jenna, what you think, but like that kind of, sometimes those kind of, things move on in generations, and maybe
it's generational, absolutely intergenerational trauma and everything. That's like what I mean. That. Yeah, 100%. And there's actually there's actually the school of thought that like it's actually ingrained in some ways. Traumas and certain things are ingrained in our DNA and things like that, and our genetics and stuff, and like even our cells, our actual cells and things like that. Which is, I know it's kind of out there to think about, but like, I mean, who knows? But that's a thing.
Yeah, and even like I feel like even like then, if you had some kind of mental or psychiatric issues, that they then can permeate down into the children. Like, it's quite possible that the there was bits of that there, and then
our upbringing and our childhood shapes us so much as well. So like there's the thought that certain disorders can be passed down either genetically or through environmental like experiences and the way that they're raising them. But then there's also circumstances where like narcissistic parents will produce children who aren't narcissistic but who have their own set of problems. You know what I mean? So like mental disorders, which I think is just a way for us to label people. You know, they can definitely go through the generations and stuff, and you could totally see, like, you know, the elements possibly being hinted at in this. John Peters says, I think Pearl had borderline personality disorder.
She might have.
Of a reading.
Okay,
so there's elements of borderline because she's like, oh, she wants to love, you know, she's love, hate me, like hate, love type thing. You know, there's also the extreme displays of emotions and things like that. But she's sociopathic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she's a little outside of borderline.
Well, borderline personality disorder has a very bad stigma in society. And, you know, and it gets, because of movie portrayals of it and stuff like that, it gets portrayed.
Especially with women.
Yes, it gets portrayed as being like this, really, like, oh my God, be afraid for your life thing. And I don't think in those circumstances,
it's not
really like that. I say this as a person who literally worked with that population.
Well, my mom was that. My mom was borderline personality. Back then, they called it manic depression, and then they relabeled it as bipolar, and now it's called what it's called, and I'm sure it'll get changed again.
Well, and that's the other thing I wanted to bring up is that, yeah, like mental health and mental disorders and the diagnoses have changed throughout the years so much, and they've evolved and they've been this, and like, I mean, being homosexual was considered a mental disorder at one point. You know what I mean? So like what they know now and what we know now, or what they knew then and what we know now is like different. It's always evolving, and what we know now about this stuff and what we are going to know in 25 years is we're going to look back and go, oh my God, like we thought that this was like that. Are you kidding me? You know?
I mean, some people still think that, and that's.
But I do think that there's absolutely elements of the BPD in here, of course. You know, but I don't think that it's a textbook case of Pearl being that. I think that because I've actually never worked with I've worked with many clients with borderline personality disorder. I have never once worked with a client, well, so far that I know of, or anything
like that.
That is out there killing like farm animals and things like that. That's usually like antisocial personality disorder.
Yeah, and I'm not condemning the killing of farm animals like she did, because I mean, you do have to kill farm animals on a farm.
I don't need animals. Don't kill them, please.
I mean, I'm sorry. Hard truth is, you know, so I guess you could have a farm and not kill any of the animals, but usually, traditionally, you have livestock that you're going to eat, or you're going to
use not killing anything to eat.
So they're not. It's not a petting zoo. It's not for fun. They're very expensive animals to upkeep. So it's a business. But at the same time, like I do know why. I got a feeling of why she did it. She did it because that's the only thing in her life she could control, and it's the only thing. And I'm not saying it's a good outlet, clearly. But it was, you know, her life is completely controlled by others. All of her life is decided by other people.
And it's also a way for her to have some power.
Yeah, it's a power thing for sure. Yeah, for sure. But and also when she gives her long speech at the end, she does kind of clarify why she doesn't clarify that, but she explains, she just says why she did it, right? Because it was like gives her some joy or gives her something. I didn't mean to like it, but I actually did like killing the projectionist, or like I'm paraphrasing, I'm not saying the exact words, but she does say why she did the things she did. I mean, here's also the thing. Like, that is a very long speech. It's almost, I think, around 7 or 8 minutes, which is a very long time to have the camera on one face, right? Because you don't see Mitzi's reaction, which is, I'm imagining Mitzi's reaction, because also Mitzi is so, we call it Wisconsin or Kansas painful polite, where you don't show any emotion when someone's being horrible to you because you're trying to be Midwest polite, which is a thing. And so and also she's very Miss Positive, Mitzi is. So I couldn't imagine what her face looks, because you see her face at the end and she's trying real hard not to look horrified. They didn't make her look shocked. They just make her look down for a couple of minutes and go, well, I bet they're missing me. I got to go home. Like, she's trying to spin it like, well, this has been delightful, but I got to go home. And she doesn't realize yet that, she's not going home. And she's also like not realizing Pearl knows that she got the dance part she wanted, right? So Pearl's not going to let her go, right? But at the same time, you think, maybe Mitzi's free and clear, right? Because she's a good friend. And also, isn't Is she related to her husband? Is she the sister?
Well, she says the sister-in-laws.
Yeah, that's a sister-in-law.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she's related to like she's hearing about her sister-in-law is a psycho. So I was shocked.
And honestly, where's the other where's the other person? Like, who's this? You know, when it was like sister-in-law, I'm like, so she have a brother or a sister? Or
No,
like,
I thought she married the brother. She married
Okay, so Pearl
married the
is
brother.
married to a man that is in the war, right?
So that's his sister?
He is the brother of the chick.
Mitzi.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
That's why they're friends, and also that's why she
That's
wants.
why she like brings her over stuff and everything like that.
Yeah, that's why she's trying. That's why also they're trying.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to be a good sister-in-law, saying, "Hey, I know you missed my brother. Tell me what you feel, so you get your feelings out." Like she's doing the nice thing of saying, "Pretend I'm him."
Supportive.
Right? She's being supportive, so it makes it sad that. But also, she took the life Pearl wants. Pearl also she has it easy. Like it's interesting how she says, because she says this to the projectionist too, like I wish I was different, and the guy's like, why do you want to be like everybody else? And she's like, it just seems like an easier life, a calmer life, when you are always positive and you don't have all this other stuff going on in your head. And I get it, I felt that way many times, but when she's giving the whole thing to Mitzi, like giving the whole speech to Mitzi at the end, and you don't see Mitzi's face till the end, and Mitzi's like keeping it calm because she's like, I gotta get out of here. But at the same time, you're like, oh, she's not getting out of there. But also, it was such a heartful speech. She's not getting out of there. I know. As soon as like she sat her down,
and she was talking, I was like, Mitzi, it's over, babes. It's over.
Well, as soon as you actually confess of murder, you're probably not going to let that person leave, right? Because you're just not. You're not going to leave a witness. So sadly, and also she's angry because she took the dancing part she wants. She wants that part. And she's so mad because the perfect blonde got the part. The person who has a good family life, the person who has it easy already, the person who, and she says this, you get everything you want. And this is the one thing I wanted, and you got it. So of course she's probably going to kill her anyway, if she revealed anything or not. I had a feeling that the first time I watched this movie, I'm like, that Mitzi, she's not gonna survive this movie.
She doesn't have a very long expiration date.
She is not gonna live very long. And it's sad because she is a good friend. Like when you watch it throughout, because I watched it another time just thinking, I'm just gonna pay attention to Mitzi this whole time I watched this movie. And she was a good friend. She wasn't toxically positive.
No, she was sweet.
She was sweet. And I was just like,
sweet, like a sweet kind of just innocent, never really experienced anything like that. It was genuinely trying
she's so sweet is why she like, hello, didn't see the red flags and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All she wanted to do was help and try and be
the good in people. See the good in people. And sometimes you got to pay attention to the bad too, or else you're going to get a pitchfork in you.
Yep. Oh man, a pitchfork. That was a terrible way to go.
I mean, though I have to admit, if you're gonna be a serial killer, it's good that you have a pet alligator on the premises.
That's an awful way to go too.
But I mean, clean up.
Lately, like the most horrible ways to die. And like how many different ways.
Why did she keep them all in the basement? I guess that's her family, though, right? She chops up Mitzi and gives the alligator.
I like that
mom
scene.
And dad?
I found that really interesting. That scene, I liked it. That was very. I was like, that's a super like, what do you call it? Like, you know, like sociopathic thing. Like it gave me flashbacks of Psycho, like how, you know, the Norman Bates' like obsession with the mother, and like even though the mother was terrible, and like similar thing, like and how, you know, when everything's falling apart, and she goes downstairs and she lays on the stairs and embraces her dead mother's body. Like that scene, like was really, I don't know. I felt
also when her mom sang to her, like when her mom sang to her. So the first time I watched this, I'm like, oh wait, is her mom still alive? Just like very badly burned because she's singing to her. But I think because you still see the burn face, like later you see her imagining her mom not all burned up and stuff. But I was like, wait, is she singing? Like, is she alive? Like, is she just barely hanging on alive because she did put the water on her?
Well, it's like that moment when you there's that moment where you see that she's accepted that she's not leaving the farm and that is her life.
Yeah.
There's a moment of, and I feel like when everything's fallen apart and then, you know, she goes and seeks solace in her mother, there's that little part of it is like, no matter how fucked up things are and how fucked your life is, your family will always be there for you. And she still goes back to the nest, you know, in that way, like to find comfort in what that was.
Yeah, it's an innate biological, like, Yep.
Yeah,
I
putting
mean,
your
it's her
parents at the
mom.
dinner table and like leaving them there, and like when the husband comes in and
That
there's like
seemed very
maggots
rock. I
everywhere,
mean,
mold, and
it
she's
seemed
there
very
with her
Rockwell.
lemonade. You know, like
Did it
I'm
seem
like
Rockwellian, like the painting, like the
Mm.
famous Thanksgiving painting, right?
Yeah.
Of the dad carving the whatever. It felt very almost like
Carving the whatever. What is he carving? Like,
he's
He
carving.
doesn't-
Is it what is it? Turkey. He's carving the turkey in the movie, but
yeah,
this is
most
it.
likely if he's carving something, it's probably a turkey.
Shut up.
But the way that you left that open, he was like carving the like.
the what? Yeah.
Okay, fine, Jenna. It's obviously a turkey, but I mean, my point isn't the turkey. My point is that it looks like, or is it a ham? Is it a ham?
Could it be a ham?
See, it didn't have to be a turkey. Anyway,
I'm just fucking with you, man.
I have no idea. Let's just agree that something's being
okay.
carved.
So anyway, it reminds me of it's a famous painting by Rockwell of a family having a meal. It could be Christmas, could be Thanksgiving, whatever. I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like that. So granted that painting was done way after World War I, but I feel like that was what it was like. She wanted that family setting of the dinner at the table and everything's perfect. And she dresses so nice for dinner and blah, blah. But it's so sad too, because I just don't know also, can we say that her husband comes home and he looks like he's 16? It's the youngest soldier ever. And then he walks in and he sees his father and mother-in-law dead at the table. And then he sees Pearl with like a little teapot going, hey, like, I don't even remember what she said.
Like,
she said, welcome home.
Fresh lemonade. Like, I mean, she's made like fresh lemonade.
That's it. And she's like, welcome home. And that does the forced smile. The fact that we know, because we saw him in X, right? So we know they're still together.
Yeah.
He loves her. He made it work. But I was like, that is true love. He came home from the horrors of World War I, which is horrific enough to survive. It comes home to that.
Maybe that's a part of it, though. I was thinking after I watched it again, like,
for sure.
In X, he's very like caring and very protective of her.
Yeah.
In X. And then I felt like he's just come back from seeing the most fucked up shit he's ever seen, which he talks about in the letters, and he comes back and he sees that, and maybe he's not that fucking bothered by it. Like he is,
maybe.
obviously.
Well, no, the expression on his face, though.
No, but you know what I mean. Like he's already. It's like he's already.
I think he's had enough psychological experiences in war that he's able to have the resilience to come to terms with it a little easier than someone who has not experienced those terrible things in war.
Yeah, like he's obviously shocked.
I can see that.
He's shocked, but I think that he's in that state where he can accept it, like, and it becomes almost a part of something that doesn't seem that far outside of the realm, and it's easier to kind of, so it might be, when you talk to like vets and stuff.
However, she also killed his sister, though. That
he doesn't
really
know that yet, though.
We don't know what happens. Yeah, there's a lot that we
know yet.
But he probably just went, she's really sick, which you kind of get the impression in X that he feels like she was really just unwell. Like the way he models her and looks after her, he's just like she's really unwell.
Maybe he's also afraid of her a little bit.
Well, that too, yeah. Could be a bit of
or feel sorry for her, or who knows? Yeah. I mean, who knows why people stay with killers? I mean, she's not violent to him. Wait, does she kill him in X? She does, doesn't she?
Can't even remember now.
Does she kill her husband, or does her husband die some other way? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I need to rewatch X now. I think it's one of the people that stay there kill the husband.
I am at the point now where I've watched so many movies in my lifetime that I sometimes forget what a movie is about, and if I've even watched a movie until I start it, and then I go,
yeah. I used to call that binge dementia, where it's like, wait, did I watch this already? Did I watch it too fast? I forgot I watched it. So
that's right. He did. He died from fucking remember.
That's it.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, if you gotta go, you gotta go. That's a great way to go. I mean,
it's a great way to go.
At least it's like something you love doing, right? At least it's not like a pitchfork to the head. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel for her, but I love this movie so much because there's so many levels to it. Oh, a little bit of trivia. The porn movie that they show in the movie is the first porn movie ever made.
Wow.
That was actually
Someone
footage
mentioned
from
that,
the first porn.
Someone mentioned that in the comments, but I can't
Yeah.
remember who it was.
Oh,
and the
I'm
name of
sorry.
it.
I didn't realize that was already in the comments. I watched
Yeah.
I watched a YouTube video about this, all the historical significant things that happened in the real world. So it was like, while this was happening, here's how the world was like on a farm at this time. Also, this was the poverty level. This is what women were allowed and not allowed to do. This is what it was like in a movie theater. This is how much things cost. And they were super cheap by our standards, obviously, but 8 cents still was a lot of money back then. It doesn't sound like it now. Obviously, it's 8 cents, but back then it would have bought a lot more than just hard candy for the way home, right? So that was kind of a slap in the face to the mom, but also treat yourself, girl. Like, I get it. You to have a hard life. If mom gives you some extra change, you're using that for extra candy if you can. But yeah, it's interesting to see the historical perspective because it was an era that I'm not super familiar with history other than just the basics. So it was interesting that Ty West got, I don't even know how you would get rights to the first, porn film, but he got, it's got to be like probably not, I don't think anyone owns it, right? Not open source, but what do you call it when there's no copyright?
It's like 1915 or something.
Yeah, so, probably the trademark.
They say that it's the first porn film. Do they say that it's like I mean, I don't know. Is it
the first that was actually filmed and shown to an audience?
Okay,
that wasn't
that's
like
exactly what I was going to say, but it is definitely not the first porn film.
Not the first ever. No.
That was
it's
ever
the first that was at a theater. It was first film. I don't know everything about the film, but I do know
like proper.
Because I guarantee you that whoever invented the film, like to begin with, as soon as they invented that shit, they shot some porn, some personal.
Well, that's a home movie. That's not a porn. A porn movie is something people see. I would assume, unless we're just talking about private
stuff. A porn movie can be either a home video or something that's released. It's just sex on film.
Well, the way I look at it is if it's a movie that is of a significant event that an audience saw, it's not a home movie. That's not a personal sex tape. It's actual something that someone saw and paid to see it.
Sex tapes are still pornography, though.
Okay, Jenna, what I'm trying to say is back then, people weren't shooting sex tapes and releasing it to the internet. It was a thing that was shot and shown to an audience.
Just shoot it and like show it to their friends.
Oh my God. Okay, fine. You win. It's not
there's no winning here, Bonnie. There's no winning.
It's not the first porn film. It's just a film, and that's not good in a movie.
I like to play devil's advocate.
You know what? I hate that term because the devil doesn't need a lawyer. He's fine.
Wow. The what term?
Devil's advocate. It means a lawyer for the devil. He doesn't need one. He's a good arguer. He doesn't. I get what you're doing. It's fun for you, but it's kind of getting annoying for me. Anyway, moving on.
I forgot what I was about to say now. You guys just stomped me.
Can we talk about some of the other characters, like the projectionist? What did you think of him?
I liked him. I thought he was like, I thought that they were going to have him be like a creepy.
Did they explain his story? Like, did they explain why he wasn't at war? Like, he didn't choose to be a soldier?
And he had his own job?
I just was curious, like, what?
No, there was no backstory for him, but I liked him because he wasn't creepy. I thought they were going to put in like a creepy guy who would be like, kind of leering gross. And I actually felt like he was a relatively like
normal dude.
And he like was supportive of her and was like not trying to take advantage of her. Like even when he showed her the film, like it wasn't like really like, so basically like, let's, there was no kind of, it was almost
I do think it was a move. I do think he was pulling the moves on her though, because it's like
it was a very, very far back move. Like
that's a choice.
It was kind of like we're mates, and I'm just showing you the shit I like.
Yeah, to me it was like, hey, you want to see a special movie? Like to me, that's a little. That was a choice he made.
He didn't do it in a creepy way. He didn't go like, let's watch some porn, and like.
Well, no, I mean he didn't see it like that. But back then, that would have been a move. I mean, that would have been scandalous, right? Back then to be like, hey, you want to see something different? Wink, wink.
I think he picked the right audience, right? I don't think he thought that she would be someone who'd think that.
Oh, that's true. She doesn't seem like a girl kind of girl.
You don't kind of whip that shit out, like you know what I mean? Like he knew what he was getting. He knew the audience. But yeah, I think he was kind of like, I liked him because he seemed like pretty like level-headed, down to earth, and pretty open guy, and he gave like some pretty like decent, like good positive kind of advice. Like he was just there as kind of like a teaser for what could be, I guess. But in the end,
I think that's what it was exactly. It was like a hint of what she could have escaped to for a moment, but that ultimately, didn't happen.
Mm.
And their breakup was the most.
I mean, she could have handled that whole thing in a completely different way, and it could have been a positive thing for her.
That
She had
breakup of her going, her yelling, "What did I do that made you not like me?" I thought for a minute, I'm like, I think I've said that to some ex before in a break. I've never done it that level of screaming, but definitely like, oh shit, that's a good question.
Yeah, but she was also like screaming, like, what did you see? So I feel like, he clearly was like, something ain't right here. I'm gonna go now. Like that was there was something that felt not right.
Well, he was starting to see her not be right.
He was starting to see
when they're talking about the parents. Well, when they're talking about the parents, and she's like, "I wish they would just die," and he was like, "Wait, what?" Because I think that's when he was that was when they were watching the movie. I think the scandalous movie, and not the first porn, just a scandal. I'm just gonna call it a scandalous movie.
It might be the first porn. I'm just being silly.
But when she was like saying, "I wish they would just," because he's like, "Well, what's stopping you from following your dream or whatever?" I'm paraphrasing. And she's like, "My parents," and she's like, "I wish they would just die." I think it was right at that point because he was like, "Wait, what?" That he realized he's dealing with someone that might not be who he thinks she is. And then she just slowly gets kind of more and more peculiar and creepy, not full on scary. It's not full on scary till he goes to her home.
That's what I mean.
That's when
also, around him, she also acts really like innocent and naive and sweet. Like when she meets him, she's very much. But she's very submissive and she's letting him guide her the whole way.
But that's how she got her first husband. She's clearly got an angle.
When we see her, in other situations, we can see that she very much wants to be the lead character and she very much wants to be the person who's got the power. But when she's put in the dynamic with the male, she automatically defaults to this like little lost doe-eyed Bambi type character.
Yeah, and I will say that one of our people in our comments, is it Fabrizio? He said her major fault was burning all her bridges, and I'm like, oh yeah, she blew up the bridges of anybody that had a hand reaching out to her. She that bridge was stabbed with a pitchfork or axe or pick a weapon,
and it's there that you see some of the elements also of the borderline personality disorder of the like just black and white thinking, just destroyed, it's ruined type thing. And then also, what did she just say? She just said something that I wanted to tie that into. Now I lost it. and the screaming that you just said, like, why don't you like me? Like that's very borderline.
Yeah, it's like bring it down a notch. But you know what? That's when you're in that anger zone and you've been trying so hard to be what quote unquote normal or what you think people want, instead of your full self or whatever. That's also exhausting, by the way, because I know from personal experience having to be like, let's just tone it down so people aren't off put by me talking fast, talking a lot, being extra. I kind of wheel them in with normal and amusing entertainment, and then I lose them quickly by being myself, which is frustrating. So I understand that. Though she's, killing people, so that's a different angle I've never done.
Totally different thing, man.
A little different than I would do.
And that's why I want to make it clear that like this woman is obviously is dealing with multiple overlapping, I think, mental health diagnosis.
Yes.
I don't think it's like fair to just say like, oh, because I don't like it when movies are like, oh, borderline, and they,
it's horrible. Like,
so I don't want to do that here. But there are elements of it, absolutely. But there's that. But I mean, I think the main thing is like she's absolutely antisocial, sociopathic, like because there is no sense of like empathy for anyone besides herself whatsoever. There is no sense of like I mean animals.
The animals.
She likes her alligator.
I said, that goose The poor goose.
I know the goose.
was
That's
so-
exactly what I was thinking of. Was the
It was
goose?
the goose.
That goose
It was
was
the
looking
goose.
up at her, and maybe I was like kind of Disney-fying the animal a little bit because I do
Well, I
that
think
with
that was
animals.
the whole point.
I was
Yeah.
like, the goose looked at her like so lovingly when she and
And
the
hey.
poor goose. The poor goose. I was like, no, don't. He just wants to be your friend. Don't kill your only friend. Maybe he'll like help you.
It was
Like,
also like the dichotomy, I feel like, because you've got 1 second she's looking at the big devil horned goat. It's very symbolic, and it's like the evil woo. And then she turns and looks at the goose, which is like just some kind of, I guess, like
innocent.
nice, bubbly, innocent. It's everything that she wants
It's
to be.
Mitzi.
Not.
It's Mitzi in animal form. She
Exactly.
killed
It's
Mitzi the
everything-
goose.
Everything she wants to be, but she's not. And so
Yeah.
that's why she gets pleasure out of destroying something, because it's destroying something that she wants and that she knows she'll never
But,
be.
then,
So I
but you
guess-
brought up something.
And there's elements of narcissism in this.
Oh, yeah.
and elements of like she is a whole textbook of
She's got a lot going on.
cluster B
and
personality.
extreme jealousy, like extreme jealousy. Like
Yeah.
Insecurity.
very, like,
You know what
Yeah.
though I did enjoy, and maybe I enjoyed it a little bit too much. But also, the audition. So the audition was interesting because the color choices was interesting. Also, the backdrop of the World War II or World War I bombing trenches. I don't know. I assume that wasn't part of the audition. I think it was just put there for effect that Ty West put in there. The fact that the only bit of color you see is her red dress, and then whatever war was going on behind in the background on the stage, and the dancers were like her background dancers who were existing only in her brain. I think all of it was in her own mind, right? With the dancers that were the soldiers, they were the background dancers. But the audition, so I have not gone auditions. I've seen auditions. I've been part of the other side of auditions. The way she lost it in the audition was so entertaining, but also I kind of wish more people would do that to casting agents, because they clearly had an idea in mind. They clearly want a Mitzi. They haven't even seen Mitzi yet, and they want Mitzi, right? Because Mitzi traded places with her in line. Mitzi was supposed to go before her. So if Mitzi had gone before her, they probably would have been like, you're hired, everyone go home. So Pearl wouldn't have even she probably would have killed her right then and there. But they traded places. They traded places because Mitzi was doubting herself, which is a little annoying because, whatever. But then Pearl's like, I'm getting this. Like, Pearl thought, I just have to show them how talented I am. And I'm gonna be
Why are
hired.
you annoyed with Mitzi?
I'm like, hey, Mitzi, like, what did Mitzi do to anyone?
I like Mitzi. I like Mitzi. But at the same time,
She's allowed to have self-doubt and insecurity.
I know. But here's the thing. Like, it was interesting because the reason they were looking for someone with an it factor who was, well, they say they wanted someone blonde. Like, they basically described
Younger and blonde.
And they basically describe Mitzi before they see her. So Pearl's probably like, what the F? And then, but Pearl was so confident. She thought the only reason the only thing that was holding her back wasn't her talent. It was everyone not letting her do her thing. And then when she finally does her thing, she thinks she's a shoo-in. She doesn't get it, and she flips out. And then, of course, Mitzi gets it because Mitzi fits the bill of what they say they want, which is audition 101, right? You should never take it personally. It's not about you. It's about what they have in their mind's eye.
They're rough, though, man. I mean,
they're horrible. They're horrible.
And also, we don't even know. Like we only see the idealized version of Pearl. She might suck ass real bad. Like, we're not going to see that because that's not the progression that's not the projection we're seeing. So regardless of whether what they were looking for, whatever, blonde, younger, she might have actually just sucked regardless. Like,
well, we see her performance,
seeing her vision.
Even her vision isn't great. I mean, I'm gonna say it.
No.
Isn't great either.
Like, she's a girl that dreams of being a dancer, dreams of doing that, but has never actually done it. So it's
kind of like those people who say, I'm going to do this, and they've never practiced or done it, and then they tell everyone they're doing that thing now, and you're like, yeah, but you've never done it. So why are you calling yourself a dancer or a singer if you've never actually done it? But you say, it's almost like if you say it enough, it'll happen, like manifestation or whatever. But you kind of have to actually do it. Yeah, you kind of have to do it first. You kind of have to have some training, because you can't just be like, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of singers that show up on TikTok.
There's plenty of people who do it and have never learned it and become
amazing. There's some people who are just naturals. I get that. I watch a lot of those I watched, was it Pop Star thing about the K-pop training
Documentary. Yeah,
I
that's
watched
crazy.
that. There's plenty of talented people that did not make the cut only because they had somebody in their mind's eye of what they wanted, and it wasn't that they weren't talented, it just didn't fit the bill. But that audition, though, it was so entertaining to me to see that, but also entertaining to see her just lose it on those guys. And because they probably don't normally get people breaking down like that, and the level of crying that she did outside of the venue when Mitzi's like, let's go home, let me cheer you up, because Mitzi just did her audition, right? So she's probably, I don't know if they say you're a shoo-in or you got it, but she doesn't tell Pearl that yet, right? And the crying, it was just so guttural.
That's her, that's integral to her, who she, like, her personality.
Well, she knows her dream's dead.
Regulates. Because, everything that her entire world that she's building is it's not happening, and it's not going to happen. And I think that's
more than just losing an audition. That's losing her life, because she knows that was her ticket out.
Yeah, and I feel because maybe the audition is really, I don't know, in my mind, the audition is more so opening a door to something else. It's not necessarily that she has to door.
It's her escape. It's her escape plan.
Yeah. It's not about getting that specific part.
No, it's escape. Yeah, you're right.
Opening the door, and then from there you go. And I think just being shut down on that first audition, it's like, no, we're saying no, that door's shut to you, and you can't access it. And it's like from there, automatically she knows I couldn't make it at the first thing I ever go to, and I couldn't do it. That's it, So I think it represented her entire world crashing down, rather than, whereas most people would be like this, you'd be devastated, cry,
think about all the hours and time she might have spent like practicing and
exactly
having this dream and building this ideal of like how she was going to escape this very small like sphere of a world that she has. Like her little world is so small there on the farm, and she has all these big aspirations, and she sat there in a room dreaming about this for years.
Every day, all day,
for years, and practicing and wanting to be this like thing. And then, like you said, she goes to her first thing, and it's just like, nope. And she doesn't know when another opportunity like this is going to come again. She has no idea, like, if this is literally her one and only chance ever.
It might. Because they came, that's there. Like, it's not LA. Yeah. She's not in a place where there's a lot of auditions. This is probably the only time that's ever happened. And it's also like, it's not LA either, in the fact that I think it's just a church group, right? So it's not even like
church hall or something. Yeah,
it's not like
it's not even like a big thing. It's like a really, really small thing. But it's a launching pad for her to be able to.
No, correct. Yeah. No, it's a big deal to her. I mean, that's the whole point, right? That's in her mind and how she views it all. But it is interesting when you look also at the reality side. So, when you watch this movie,
she's not in reality.
See, that's the thing. And also, you don't realize, too, she's an unreliable narrator in this movie. So a lot of time when you're watching stuff, you're watching it from her point of view that isn't totally real. So, like, the first time I watched this, I didn't know that. So, like, I watched it as though, well, I'm a spectator watching this unfold. And then the second time I watched it as though I knew she was crazy, and I'm looking at it from reality. And I'm like, oh, yeah, none of this is reality. Like, a lot of this is not reality. So that's another lens to watch this movie once you watch it again. And you're like, well, watch it without the idea of this is all really happening. And then if you watch it knowing this is all in her head, so there's moments that don't make sense because it's in her head. So it is interesting to look at those two different levels. Again, this movie's so great because there's so much to unfold. There's so many layers to it that you're like, holy shit, I didn't even remember her looking at a ghost.
It's also just so tragic because it's like every person wants something better for themselves, right? And wants to have like their ideal life. And this is a person who never got that and who got stuck into this box that she was put in and had to just, I hate to say this, but kind of like, because I'm thinking about her the visuals of her in X, but and like this rot on this farm. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's existence. And can you imagine spending 60 years of just like, this is it?
And then imagine a whole bunch of hot little patooties rolling up into your house. to shoot a film, and you're like, get the fuck off my land. Like,
Yeah, because that was her
no.
dream to like make this film, and now they're coming to her, which has got to be a weird manifestation moment in itself too. Because you know, when she gets in bed with Mia Goth as the other character, because Mia Goth plays both characters, which is very
That's the
fascinating.
creepiest scene.
But
That's
she
the
goes in
creepiest
bed with
thing
her.
ever,
But you know what? I feel like it's almost like because Mia the Goth's character, because she's playing both characters, right? Because Pearl is seeing this young, hot to trot doppelganger of herself. You know, I feel like that bed scene, for me, that bed scene wasn't a sexual thing. It was a bed scene where I feel like she's trying to become her, or be her, like escape through her, or some sort of mental.
Well, there was a lot going on.
But for me, it wasn't a sexual thing. For me, I was like, no, she wants to, like, maybe if I osmosis myself into her, like, it was seeing herself again, but as young. That's got to be a trip, to see someone who looks identical to you when you were young show up and shoot a movie, and that's what you want to do your whole life. So you actually are seeing yourself in some weird, screwy way do this because she looks just like her when she was young. That would make anyone kind of snap, I would think, especially Pearl in her old age, right? So it was very interesting now that you watch Pearl and you look back at X. So like I went back and watched X as soon as I watched Pearl, and then I was like, oh crap, there's so much stuff in X now.
Yeah,
now that I've seen Pearl, I know, now I've seen Pearl, I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy to now have context as to why certain things happen.
And also like the difference as well in the husband. Like the husband is so young, sweet looking in Pearl, and in X he's a motherfucker. Like he's like
he's a bit hardened.
This evil, like badass.
Dude. Creepy. Yeah, I would say that probably that life probably changed him a bit. But yeah, like one of our commenters, John Peters, said the rejection was like a nail in her coffin, trapping into this life forever at the farm. Beaten, she submits. Totally true. It's like she gives up because it's like, well, this is it. This is the life I have now because I did not get that one audition that, you know, she's not going to be able to travel to others.
That's what plays in her mind every single night for the rest of her life, I bet. And that's so sad. And that's so sad because it's like, if she had been able to almost let it go, she could have probably sought out other opportunities.
Or moved. Like, well, probably not there. She would have probably had to move or go to another nearby city.
Yeah, but she could have like rebuilt.
You're right. Yeah, you're 100% right, Jenna. Like she could have
convinced the husband, like, we need to go. Like I just killed everyone. Like we need to go.
Maybe also the husband had an element of keeping her trapped on the farm because he knew she was dangerous.
Yeah.
Maybe he was doing everybody else a solid by that could have been too it could have been, and maybe that's a little, I don't know if that's what her mom was doing too, but like maybe it was like
kind of like pets, right? Like how when you see like like when you see someone has a pet, like I'm sorry, I'm apologies.
A pet, what are you talking about?
Well, my housemate's Pomeranian is here right at the moment. Horrible, beautiful dog, horrible little bite everyone's face off, nip the shit out of them, right? And you know when you've got a really nice pet and you keep it at home because you know it's going to bite the fuck out of someone or it's a little turd.
Oh, a
right?
pet.
I feel like the husband,
I can understand.
The husband loves her, but knows that she's
a Pomeranian that's going to kill everyone.
So he keeps her home. You know what I mean? Like there's that element of like kind of you love them, but you also want to protect them from doing something that's going to harm themselves and others, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like Jennifer's Body, right? Like the best friend like knows Jennifer's psychotic and she's trying to, or even Ginger Snaps, which is a great movie about sisters.
I tried to watch that and I fell asleep. I gotta try again.
Okay, well, it's one of the sisters becomes a werewolf and the other sister's trying to protect her.
I got like 30 minutes into it.
My point is that she's trying to protect the rest of the high school from her sister, but she loves her sister. So she doesn't want her sister. She doesn't want her sister to die. I swear to God, Jenna, the next time I see you, I am going to like hug you so tight you pass out. Not throttle you.
I'm being spunky tonight.
No, you're being like the sister who's trying to like make me break on camera, and I love you.
I'm trying to poke.
You're poking, and I'm just sitting here like loving life.
It's because we're so close that I know exactly what you're doing. You're pulling sibling stuff. It's fine. It's fine. I'm good. I'm cool. It's fine. Anyway, I'm talking too much anyway.
No, I'm just teasing you because I love you.
I know. I love you too.
Otherwise, I wouldn't bother.
I love you too. I have a question for you, Jenna. Do you think, because you've seen Maxine recently, I forgot what's in Maxine because I saw it so long ago, but do you think watching X, are there certain things, without spoiling Maxine for people who haven't seen it yet, are there moments in Pearl and X that come up a lot in Maxine, or is there anything in Pearl that shows it? Because obviously this is weird because Maxine doesn't know who Pearl is, like doesn't know Pearl.
I'm not gonna lie, I think I need to watch it again. I watched it once in the theater after dinner, and I had wine, and I was also on a date.
Oh,
and so I was a little bit distracted.
It's a good date movie.
And I wasn't even really thinking about Pearl or X. I was just thinking mostly about the film in front of me, and I was excited that Halsey was in it for like a fucking minute.
Oh, right. Yeah. Stunt casting at its best, right? It's like, oh, I guess they're only in it for a second. And we will, I think, as a group, dissect Maxine in another episode for sure, because it is the trilogy. It is the end of the storyline. But I don't know. I love Pearl because of the fullness of the story, the interesting way it was told. Ty West, amazing filmmaker, and I love his films, and this is one of those reasons. But the music soundtrack, it's more than just the actors in the story. It's the sound design, it's the music, it's the choice of color, choice of scenery. Obviously, Maxine's gonna have 80s music, just like X had 70s kind of like that, like kind of the sexy music of 70s or whatever, dance music, disco, whatever. And this one was very the sweeping Gone with the Wind kind of movie, because it's trying to mimic those movies, not necessarily the music. I don't know. Like I like this movie for lots of reasons, but also the things that maybe people don't really pay attention to that much, like sound design or choice of color or choice of different camera angles and stuff. So I definitely think this is one of those movies that I will never get tired of watching. And I tend to, like, I totally forgot about the goat scene. Now I need to rewatch it for the goat, because I've been on like this weird thing where I'm noticing goats.
It was like it was just like the first thing I was like,
it's because their eyes are creepy as hell too. I
love goats. Okay.
Yeah,
I
do too.
I do too. They are the coolest animals.
I loved it in Witch. I loved it in Where Evil Roams is a great movie that's Argentinian, and it has a weird goat scene. I love goats. I think they get a bad rap sometimes because
they do get a bad rap, and I love them.
Yeah, but I do love a goat. So I have to go back because I totally missed that. I totally didn't even notice that in this movie, and I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, because there's like very much, they're really honing in on that, like the evil, and then here's like the other side, the little Mitzi as an animal. But like, I feel like I don't know. I think I loved. I mean, I can't speak to the trilogy because I haven't seen Maxine yet, but for me, I feel like I really like this film. I still prefer X. There's something about the themes in X that resonated far more with me, but I like this film as for me, I like this as a chapter. I feel like I may not have liked this film as much if I hadn't have seen X, and vice versa. Like it now gives me more like kind of, I don't know, more reference when I think back on X. But also, I don't know if I would have liked this as much had it been a solo film with no X at all, like, and just a straight up film. I think, I don't know, for me it's more of the chapter of the layers of the original film that I think is what I like about it, which makes me like it more rather than seeing it as if it was, I don't know how you guys feel about that, if it was just Pearl and you knew nothing and it was a solo film.
No, I think I mean, it's probably a good movie you could watch on its own, but you're right, it wouldn't have the same level of intensity without watching X first. And it is interesting that the prequel is the second movie, not the first. You're not starting in chronological order. But I do. Yeah, I would say X is a fine movie on its own. Pearl is okay, but you get more enjoyment from Pearl if you watch X first, I think, because then you understand, oh, that's why. I actually get more enjoyment now on my next viewing of X after seeing Pearl, because then I will then do like,
that's what I mean.
I'll like pause the movie to look at something a little more deeper, because I'm like, oh wait, that's what that picture was. So now, because at first I thought she was a successful actress that retired. I didn't realize she did nothing. Like I didn't realize she was a failure.
Correct.
That's like, oh shit, these other scenes with these actors that are on the farm, now they resonate even more when you know her background.
And where that inner, like, we thought like, oh, she just, something bad happened and she lost her dream. She never had it. Like, so
Oh, and it was
you
a devastating thing where, yeah, she murdered people in the process to get to the audition. She murdered people. She murdered her family so she could go to this audition. That's the thing that I'm like, oh yeah, and it didn't work out. It didn't pan out. Oh well. So it's like, oh shit.
Well.
Like, she was like, well, I'm getting rid of
mom and pop.
Yeah, it's like, oops, because she's getting rid of them, so there's no loose ends. So when she goes on tour, she doesn't worry about everything back. So I was just like, wait a minute. So that's like even more horrifying when you realize that happened. And yeah, it's just a lot. So, and then Maxine is great on. I think Maxine's a good movie on its own, but it's obviously if you watch
I have mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
I think if you're not coming from the porn industry and have that kind of knowledge, some people probably will love it as it is. Yeah.
But also, even if you don't, everyone has a different view of how they, how they appreciate things. And I get that. But I think for me, Pearl's the best one. For me, it's my favorite one out of the trilogy.
It's my favorite one, other than one part of a performance that Maxine gives in Maxine.
Okay.
And that one performance that she gives in it, like, is just like, and then I think after that movie went a little downhill, but that's just me.
Okay.
I felt
I will watch it and I will come back to you.
It got a little like, oh, of course that's where they're gonna go for it.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that more in that episode.
Yeah, and also I will say for me personally,
I was just
the 80s. Well, no, for me personally, the 80s is kind of like I love 80s horror films.
But I want to watch it again because, like I said,
I was introduced to really becoming a horror fan in my teen years in the 80s. So I have a different, and I'm older than you guys, so I have a different like perspective of what I think the 80s is because I lived it and I was a teenager in it and I loved horror in it. So for me, 80s is different. So when I see 80s portrayed in other films now, because it's so popular to portray 80s now, and now 90s, because 90s, the Y2K era is now becoming the thing. I'm like, yeah, that's not really how the 80s were, but I get that that's the lens that people that didn't live in the 80s think the 80s were, because it's kind of like I didn't live in the 1950s, but kind of I have an idea of what I think the 50s were like, but I'm sure I'm wrong because I didn't live through it. So it's kind of like that for me. If you are old, if you basically survive long enough, you get to see the era you lived in be misportrayed in movies. So now I'm like, that's not how it was. Like,
sometimes they get it right though, or there's sometimes like there's elements of it that you're like, oh my god, that's so nostalgic.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm the asshole that's watching Stranger Things going, they didn't use that term in the 80s, and that's not how computers work today. But also, I'm okay with like fantastical creatures existing, so I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning their use of slang and computers, and so I have a different distortion of what I accept and what I don't accept. So it
comes down to perception as well. What happened? I mean, like we forget that everyone has very different experiences. So some of that slang did exist. It just wasn't in your 80s. You know what I mean?
Oh no, there was slang that was used in Stranger Things that 100% was not.
Well, you know what I mean, but it's down. You don't know that. You don't know every single person.
I do know that because I looked it up.
You don't know every single person in the world and what they were saying at the time. Like slang is very much something that goes between.
No, but that one I did know. I mean, I will fight on this hill till I die because I do know that was not a word.
I won't fight because.
What word are we talking about? What word are we talking about?
It was a slang term about the internet, but the internet did not exist yet. So they were creating a timeline about the internet.
That's a fact. You're talking about
I was part of that Usenet era. So I know for a fucking fact they didn't use that word. So I do know that one.
No, but that's a fact though, right? It's a fact. That's not a
no. It was a slang term for a thing
based on an incorrect fact. Yes,
that didn't exist yet. You can't have a slang term for something that doesn't exist yet. So that's what I was, but that was Stranger Things. That wasn't this movie. So I don't know why we're arguing.
Wait a minute.
I'm not. I'm sitting here eating my red liquor.
I'm gonna stop talking because I feel like I'm just.
Are we arguing about when the internet was created?
I'm not arguing about it.
I don't want to even talk about it anymore because we're not talking about the movie. We're talking about some dumb moment in Stranger Things that doesn't really matter. and I'm getting angry about something that doesn't matter. So I'm going to stop getting angry about something that, and I'm sure the people watching are like, what the fuck is happening?
Okay,
So I'm
the
going to stop.
internet's official birthday was January 1st.
No, we're not going to talk about this anymore. We're not, because I'm just going to get angrier and angrier, and you guys are just having fun making me angry. So I don't want to do this anymore.
No,
So
we're not.
Let's talk about the end credits, because I want to talk about the end credits of this movie and the forced smile.
Oh my
and
God,
the
it's so
light.
good.
And the thing where it was like all darkness with the circle, because that was a thing that cartoons would do, like the first Mickey Mouse cartoons. So I want your take on that forced smile through the credits. It just got creepier and creepier. Why do you think Ty West ended the movie with that and the way it ended with the credits? Like, why do you think that was his creative choice for this film? With the forced smile.
It was just like, that's all, folks. That's all I got from
it. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
But I think it's also just kind of to show that, like,
and showing her repressing it.
Exactly. It's showing her like, I'm gonna smile and grin my way through life now, even though like I'm really insane underneath all of this.
Yeah, I've accepted it. This is where I am.
It shows her madness in a I don't know how to say it, but it shows her madness in a way that is controlled and also terrifying at the same time, because you like know that like this containment of rage and like misery and like unachieved dreams just like boiling underneath that smile, and like it's very unnerving, I would say is the word for it. And I think that him leaving it with that unnerving feeling is obviously a select choice to make the viewer feel like very unsettled when they leave the theater of like, oh God, like she's really like, and she's just kind of she's also getting away with it. Like she's just like,
yeah,
here I am. Everyone's going to cover for me now and bury the bodies, and I'm just going to keep doing it. You know, because in X, didn't she have other people in the basement, like other guys in the basement that she was like,
yeah, she did. She had guys.
Like it's going to go on.
She was doing like sex torture stuff. And
dude, she's like evil on the farm, like forever. Just God.
And when the assumption, well, the kind of assumption I guess I had was that hubby was the one going and getting these things.
Yeah. In order
because he couldn't have sex anymore. There's some sexual hang up or situation. And also like to its credit,
he was unwell.
Yeah, and to its credit, X, like we said before, was kind of, I'm sure this was a Ty West choice, trying to be kind of Chainsaw Massacre-esque. So there was things in Chainsaw Massacre in the basement. So there is that level of, wait, what other secrets are you hiding?
The whole way it was shot, it was one of those films. It was very much,
the secrets in the basement. Yeah, the secrets that are being hidden away, that the discoverable of the people that show up on the farm, right? That are like going just to get some help. And then they just keep discovering worse things in other rooms. So like, I think that probably was kind of a tropey thing to do. But yeah, it was, when you watch Pearl and then watch X again, then you're like, oh yeah, the basement, that's a lively, well, not a lively place. That's an unlively place to put the unlively people. But that is an interesting thing. Also, I think movies that were kind of the mimicking of Pearl, were these grandiose movies, always had happy endings. I wonder if it was like a forced happy ending. That's why it was the way it ended.
Love that.
Yeah, because it's a forced
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, because the smile at the end is like, well, I guess everything's fine now. It's like, no.
Everything's hunky-dory now.
I guess you're back.
Underneath the smile, that's all.
I kind of wish more horror films would end with the killer just I mean, I guess there are some that end with the killer happy and smiling at the camera, but I don't know. It felt like that is extra creepy. That is real extra creepy that I didn't think
Mia Goth is brilliant at I really like her. I really like that. I really like that she's not like this typical like beauty queen, like stunningly gorgeous, but she's got such a unique look to her, and she's so good at acting, and she's beautiful, but she doesn't look like the Hollywood standard of like beautiful, or she doesn't look like
it's like
or like she's trying to like play to any sort of like Hollywood ideals of like standard of beauty or anything, or like trends that are going on.
Yeah.
But she's such a good actress. Like I feel like she's really evolving.
I think she excels in these kind of roles. I think if she was given roles that like I don't know, not saying not roles that aren't as good, but like less complex roles. I don't know if she would really shine in them at all.
I mean, it's
I
weird
think
too
that
because
she's good
playing
at
both, though.
psychos and like deep characters with conflicting emotions and different levels. Like that's the kind of acting she's good at.
And also, and when you think about it, in X, she's playing both the killer and the final girl, and then the final girl, you know, ends up killing the killer. Sorry, spoilers, but it's like, you know, it's like an interesting. I mean, it's got to be, as an actor, it's got to be such a plum role to be able to play that duality in one movie of someone that's a killer that's got this big backstory that you're going to tell later, right? As that person, and then also you get to play, you know, the young final girl, whatever. And I know that I'm sure Ty West had this trilogy planned out all at once. It wasn't like he's just winging it as it goes. So he knew he was going to use Mia as Pearl in Pearl. So obviously she has to play both roles in X. But I'm just stunned by how good he is.
He started writing it during X. This is when he decided.
That's why. Probably, and it was because of Mia, right? Because she was so good at it.
Yeah, he decided to write it during X with the acting and how the Pearl as the old lady was coming about. That then sparked him to think about, hey, maybe I should write something that kind of goes into that psyche.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know he was writing he chose, like, there wasn't 3 movies from the get-go. Like, he just decided because X was as good as it was that he wanted to do Pearl's story. That's very interesting. That's a testament to Mia.
The way she took the role, I think that just sparked him to.
That is a huge. I mean, I guess Museland. She's probably his muse for it, right? But that's a testament to her acting ability. But we've seen her in other movies. Like, we did the movie about, you know, the rich guy that dies and he gets a clone to be, or not dies, but he kills someone and they clone him. What's some of the
Infinity Pool.
Yeah, she's great in that.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
Yeah, and she's amazing.
Sorry, I just had to.
Right? That was a great movie. It was a great, and which we also
that was a really cool movie.
Yeah, and we also reviewed it, so you can go back and look at our archive and see us talk about that one as well. But she's such a dynamic, interesting. You know what? She reminds me a little bit of, like, when Christina Ricci started. Everyone was like, "Oh, she's got a unique look and she's got a unique acting style." And it's like, yeah, we don't necessarily need to have the all caps Hollywood type actress to play these roles, right? But also, I think because Mia is so unique in how she does her delivery and how she does these roles, and her face is so expressive. Like, just even when she's not talking in this movie and you look at her face, you're like, there's a lot of emotion and a lot of stuff going on there. She's just so good at it. And I'm excited to see what she does in the future. I'm excited to see what other roles she does. But as a horror actress or thriller or genre actress, whatever you want to call this, she is so good at that. And she's so good at playing characters that aren't cookie cutter, that aren't what you expect. So I'm excited to see what she does next. But yeah, I loved her in X. And I loved her in Pearl. And I liked her in Maxine. But Pearl will always be my favorite. So yeah. Cool.
Jenna,
but we had some great comments, by the way, in the comments room. Thank you guys for commenting. And I think there was even something that was another Wizard of Oz reference that I did not realize. But when she was riding her bike, Pearl's lifted, Pearl riding the bike. This is from John Peters. Pearl riding the bike is lifted from when Almira is riding her bike in Wizard of Oz. And I didn't even make that connection. I think it's the same exact kind of bike too.
Well,
I think it's the
Scarecrow
same
as
style.
well. Like, so much of it is straight up Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, but I didn't even think about I forgot there's a bike in Wizard of Oz. I forgot about that whole intro.
Yeah, there's the bike, there's the Scarecrow, there's the farmhouse.
The Scarecrow for sure. Yeah, the Scarecrow. By the way, the design of the Scarecrow was interesting. The face.
Yeah,
did anyone else find that kind of
creepy,
weird? Because it didn't look straw-like. The head was a mannequin head.
It looked like Texas Chainsaw Mask thing.
That's what I was wondering, if it was another shout out to Texas Chainsaw, because I was like, that's not a Scarecrow, a typical Scarecrow face that you would normally expect, right?
Yeah,
so
I was kind of like a leather face. It was a bit.
It was Leatherface-esque. Okay, cool. I was like, I just don't know my Scarecrow, so I don't want to be like.
I just don't.
I don't know.
I am not a Scarecrow expert. I do not know, and that is a genre, Scarecrow horrors, like Jeepers Creepers. Like there's a ton of them, right? So, but yeah, I was just like, is that face supposed to look like that? Like I didn't do my research on what scarecrows look like during the World War I era, but that was extra creepy.
Were we supposed to do that research?
No, no, that's just me being a nerd. That's me going. That's me.
I don't even have notes tonight. Look at how ill prepared I am. I graduate, and the scholar in me is just like gone.
I mean, you don't really need notes for this. I think I was just doing weird, going down rabbit holes.
Though. I just
go down rabbit holes, and my ADHD brain attaches to something. I'm like, yeah, what did scarecrows look like? And then I want to look at the whole timeline of scarecrow development, and then I'll spend like 5 hours looking at scarecrows instead of doing stuff I'm supposed to be doing. So that's my life of. But yeah, no, I did like that. I like how it was the top hat was interesting. Also, can we put here's the thing I hate that her mom did, and my mom used to do this to me too, because I love trying on hats at stores, and my mom would be like, you're gonna get lice. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, it was just, can you just let me try on cowboy hats in a store without thinking I'm gonna get lice? And the fact that her mom was like, well, you're not bringing that hat. You're not bringing the top hat in here, and you better wash your hair. You better hope lice. You need to get the lice out of your hair. It's like, Mom, I just thought this top hat was cool.
So I was like, is that like a farm thing? Like people had.
I don't know. Is it a mom thing? I don't. I mean, you see hats at stores. You try them on. You don't instantly think lice. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Maybe it's a mom thing because kids do get lice at some point when they're young.
You usually get it. It's not from a hat.
No, it's from kindergarten or first grade or something. It's always something dumb. So I was just like, but also I was like, just let her have the fucking hat. She's like poor. She doesn't have any fun stuff. Just let her have the hat, Mom. But no, she's like, leave it outside. Wash your hair because it's full of lights. Like her mom just would not let her even have the tiniest bit of joy. And that's why I was like, it's just a fucking hat, Mom. Like I wish she had just said that. It's just a fucking hat, Mom. Bring it in. Anyway, sorry. I don't know why that bugged me.
I can analyze you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hat thing. That's got to be a therapy issue. I'm going to probably have to bring up.
Therapy issue.
My therapist is like taking notes during this production of Night Shift. I'm sure. Thank you for the people watching. I hope you don't
Your therapist shouldn't watch anything of yours. You know that, right?
They shouldn't.
That's like really unethical for them to look up their clients in any sort of shape.
Oh, really? My therapist did.
No, that's unethical.
Yeah, no,
wouldn't do that.
Whoops.
Yeah, you're not supposed to look up your clients. You're not supposed to like research any because you don't want to have any
supposed to be completely
ideas for them or create any sort of ideas based on them by what you see. You want to
interesting. Okay, that's good to know. I'm getting.
Well, and also it crosses a boundary, like because you know what your therapeutic relationship is in that room. It's not outside of that room. And so, like as a client too, you shouldn't look up your therapist. As a therapist, you shouldn't be looking up your clients. There's like
Oh well, no, but when I was looking for therapists, I have to look them up to make sure.
You have to look them up, but you shouldn't be like trying to find their personal Instagram.
Oh no.
You shouldn't be doing that either.
Yeah, no, that's creepy. I wouldn't do that. That's for
sure. As a therapist, you don't look up your clients' Instagrams and like what they're doing. And
yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm glad that you brought up the ethical point that my therapist is clearly not following. That's okay.
Okay.
Just getting a new therapist. Okay.
Some therapists, I've heard this is actually the third instance I've heard of a therapist doing that.
Oh, really?
I think that some therapists either aren't as aware of like.
Is this an LA thing? Are they all LA therapists?
Well, mine's in LA, but I don't know.
Yeah, all three of them I've heard of have been in LA.
Could it be like an LA thing that they like think because these people are
there could be the school of thought that a therapist could look up her client just in order to feel safe if she feels any risky things or something.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I don't know. I don't know. The ethics is a very interesting area when it comes to the treatment of mental health and stuff like that. There's so many different debates. That was one of my favorite parts of some of the classes I took in my last grad classes. We talked about and debated like, well, would this be ethical or not? And like how things sometimes go on these lines where it's like, it's kind of ethical.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also like I was thinking about that too, specifically with this movie. You know, they didn't have therapists like that were
Yeah.
available in this era, in this, at least in this, I would assume in this community. And also, I don't even know if that was looked on as a thing back then. I think they just put people in asylums and forgot about them. I don't know if
Yeah,
they.
and unless you're from what I sort of know from like looking back when I was studying psych and stuff, is primarily the only people who had access to that were very, very, very wealthy people. And
Oh yeah,
it was usually just women with like, women with issues and hysteria or problems with abuse of drugs and stuff and whatnot. That
I
would
mean,
manifest
even my own family viewed
to
it
stop
that
them
way.
from going to an asylum. They would do that sort of thing.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, I came from a Midwestern family that also, even in the 80s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, thought therapists were for rich people who had time and money on their hands, not for working class, right? So that even my family viewed it like that. And I'm sure, I definitely know all of us could have used therapy at that point, but I didn't even get a therapist until recently. So I was still of that mindset of, oh, that's for people with real problems, like people who are about ready to lose it, or people that have a lot of money that can afford to just talk to people. And also in this era and in this time and in this space, I think a lot of times your minister was the person you went to, not Catholic confession, so to speak,
Yeah.
but you use your minister or reverend as like, can I talk to you about stuff? And then it would always be Bible stuff, right? Like go to God, go to Jesus, Jesus will solve all your problems, whatever. And I think that's probably more of what that era would have been like. So it's not like if Pearl got therapy, would she have been okay? I don't know. Like if that's even that would have been a possibility. I feel like if they weren't on a farm and they were in the city and had regular jobs, I feel like her mom might have stuck her in an asylum, but they needed her working hands to help with the farm and to help with the dad, right? So I don't know, but I don't know. A lot of this is me also like, when you watch these movies, you keep thinking, or at least I'm like this. I'm always like, yeah, could any of this been prevented? Like, it's kind of like, well, what if she had gotten what if the audition worked and she left? She did kill a lot of people before then, but would the killing have stopped? Or would she have killed people that got in her way of getting even more fame? Like, I wonder about like, if she had gotten the audition, it's kind of like if Hitler got it into art school, would we have had World War II? I don't know. Like, I don't know. He was a shitty artist, so Hitler didn't get into art school. But if he did, would we have had all this other stuff happen? I don't know. Maybe someone would just have been another maniacal person that would have replaced him, right? But with this, I always wonder, what if she had gotten on this tour? Like, would she have just killed a lot of other people on tour?
Oh, yeah.
Well, she just would have. I feel like she would have just got worse, and then like every little thing that went wrong, her way to come back and regain control would have been to do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess this
It's not like that's not a kind of I don't know, pathology that you can just go turn on and off. I feel like once it's on, it's on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and probably having your dream job doesn't mean you suddenly are not psychotic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think there's something different in people who can just like kill like that, and like there's something really like different and broken. It's not right there.
Yeah, there's no remorse. I don't think
like,
she
I've killed bugs, but like I can't even fathom like killing a goose with a pitchfork.
Yeah, I feel like
are you kidding me? Like I
will say when you are on a farm, when you are on a traditional farm, you are expected to do that, because I had to do that once. I never did it again.
I think if I was raised on a farm, I would be that annoying little kid that would be like, why are you killing the animals?
Well, I wasn't that, but I was like, I
think the only reason why I ate meat for so long in my life without going and quitting is because the fact that I was so detached from the fact that it was actually an animal, because I just saw this packaged food or I just saw this prepared food.
Which most people are like that.
You don't connect it to the animal.
Yeah.
But if I was raised on a farm and I was raised watching these animals be birthed and like grown up and stuff, I would develop so much attachment. There's no way. I was
like that. I was in 4-H and I refused to do the thing where you raise a calf to be a cow and then sell it at auction knowing it's going to be killed, right? Like I didn't do that. I didn't do the pig. I didn't do pig rearing. I didn't do rabbit rearing. I didn't do any of these animals are going to be on a dinner plate later. So I didn't do any of that. But I do remember my grandmother once telling me, well, you're on a farm, so you're going to have to do this at some point. So we're going to show you what you have to kill this chicken. And it was so horrifying that I was like, from now on, I will gather eggs, but I refuse to kill any of these animals. And also they would get mad at me because I would befriend. I think I was the Snow White of the farm because I was like, I'm going to befriend all these animals. So there were a lot of kittens that would be born from feral cats in the barn that I didn't know were being killed later by people on the farm, because you don't want to have that many kittens starve to death because there's not enough food. So they think they're doing the humane thing, kind of like you go hunting for deer, because if the deer population gets out of control, they'll starve to death, and that's not very humane. I get that, but I don't want to be the one that does it. I don't want to kill anything. I don't want to skin anything. Even, I mean, fishing, I think, was as far as I went. So even that was creepy to clean a fish. So I was the worst person. I was the person that should never be on a farm, should never stay on a farm, unless the farm is just animals that are dying of loneliness and boredom, not of food. So like I couldn't do anything where I'd have to kill anything. So I'm kind of like, I wanted off that roller coaster because I was not going to be a farm wife or a farm hand. Unless it's
right. I knew I was going to freeze at some point because I always freeze.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. I was so waiting for it.
I was doing that farm kid talk.
But I can tell at least I look nice.
You do. You always look good. Yeah, your frozen screens are always good. They're like pictures. They're like paintings in a gallery. They're really good. Yeah.
I mean,
anyway.
It's kind of funny how you like Renee looks like she's frozen, and she looks like she's like looking off into the distance and then contemplating something, and Bonnie looks like she's sucking on a Sour Patch.
Great.
I'm just contemplating. I'm a deep thinker.
Awesome.
I'm deep thinking over here,
No, but you look kind of disgruntled too.
Okay, that's my normal. That's my normal. What do you call it? Live video call face. Like when I have meetings at work, I have this face of if I look away for a bit, or I have the disgruntled face, or I'm actually on another. I'll go on another page and then I'll freeze, and everyone will be like, "Renee, you're frozen." I'm like, "Oh, am I?" Because I'm totally looking out the window, disengaged, doing something.
Yeah.
else.
Oh, by the way, the comments.
Actually, Bonnie, you look like you're a little bit saucy and sassy, and have your lips look like you're ready to kiss something too.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That was a good save. Thanks. The comments are going really crazy about the Hitler comment. So yes, you all are right. I think Chris made a good comment about, I think another person would have replaced Hitler. We would think of Mussolini or the Japanese emperor the way we think of Hitler now. I would have just simply perceived Stalin as the true Hitler, the way that many people did on the right. So yeah. So the whole thing, the trope of, hey, let's kill Hitler, like in every time travel movie where it's like, what would you do? First thing, kill Hitler. But there's always somebody else in the wings that would probably have done something as horrible or more horrible or horrible adjacent. So it's not like just because you kill Hitler, evil ends in that era. So I get it. I get it.
Digressed.
No, I know, but we were talking about Pearl. No, not really. We're talking about the fact that if Pearl got the audition and she got on tour, would we have ended with a better Pearl instead of just Pearl murdering in other locations? Just like, if Hitler got into art school, that would have totally changed history, or would it? Another person would have just replaced him. So I think with Pearl, I would have liked to see a Showgirls version of Pearl, but that's not the movie we got. So that's okay. I just like the idea of World War I era Showgirls. I think is just the movie I want to see. That has not been made yet, but someone will make it. So that'll be great. Because I love Showgirls. I'm a Showgirls fan. So there you go.
I mean, Showgirls is great.
By the way, there's a really good documentary on Showgirls. It's called Naomi something. It's about the fans of Showgirls, how it's become a cult classic. It's a really good documentary on Shudder. So I don't know if it's elsewhere, but it's a documentary about Showgirls. So I highly recommend it. It's not horror based, has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I just wanted to throw that out there because it's a good documentary. Well, no,
I love random.
It's not totally random. Just because I do want Pearl to be in a show. I wanted the Pearl movie where she's on tour, which would have been Showgirls, just of that era. So yeah. Anyway. I think the isolation, John Peter says in comments, I think the isolation on Pearl made her like a rat in a corner, angry, fighting out. Maybe she wouldn't in the freedom by traveling with big cities, maybe.
Mm.
So yeah, that's a good point. But I do think I think that it is like she does kill people when she feels trapped. So it's not like just random killing of people. Like there is an emotional element and then it happens, right? So it's not like just, well, except for the goose. It's just, not completely random.
I think as she moved, as she probably, if she did move on and actually get it, she would have just, she would have continued to dissolve and end up possibly becoming someone who does hurt anybody, I think.
Yeah. And you're right. You can't really turn that stuff on and off. So yeah, it's just fun to I don't know. I'm the kind of nerd that likes to think the what ifs of characters in movies. Even though we're never going to get those movies. It's interesting to think about, especially with her character, because her character's so complex and interesting that I always wonder. I also wonder, what was she like in school? Like that level of feeling doesn't just happen. What?
Yeah. Or as a child,
right, because it's
what was her relationship with her parents and stuff when she was younger? Was it always this such a big thing?
What was she like in school? What was she like in her day-to-day? She's a fascinating character. So of course I want to know everything about her that we're not going to know because we only get 3 movies and that's the story. We don't get, it's not Star Wars where you get a ton of movies, ton of TV shows, books, comics, video games. There's no Pearl video game yet. There's no, could you imagine? There's no,
yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I really like what Ty West did with the trilogy. So hopefully when we talk about Maxine, I'm very curious. Sorry, Jenna left. I think she froze and left.
I think her computer froze. So I think she's coming back.
But when we do Maxine, I'd be very curious her thoughts on Maxine because that is Jenna's world. It's just in an 80s era, not this era. But she knows that she knows that world inside and out. So I would be very curious to see her perspective on Maxine for sure. Because her perspective on X was very interesting because that is the porn industry of that time. Yeah. It was very different than it was in the 80s and very different than in the 90s and even now. So, and it's a industry that I don't think a lot of people know as much as they think they know about it unless you're in it, right? Or part of it. But also it's interesting that I think porn and horror are very adjacent because I do see a lot of porn stars that go on into their first non-porn movie sometimes tends to be horror. So I see a lot of porn stars, make that jump or not even a jump, a small skip to horror often.
Yeah, horror is like a genre, it's for outcasts and it's for the battlers among us. So I think that's why it becomes a kind of a, I think
it's also very welcoming. It's also a very welcoming community.
Yeah,
that's actors and especially to women. It's ironic because a lot of people outside of horror that are looking and that don't watch it don't like it. Yeah, they think it's misogynistic or against women. It's really not. In fact, there's so many horror filmmakers and we've interviewed a few of them on the show that are women filmmakers, directors, screenwriters. So not just actresses, right? But people making these films like Love Witch, The Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, like all of these films, The Addams Family, right? So you get these great, and you get these great people making these movies, but it goes all the way back to the 70s. There were women making these movies in 80s and 90s. So it is an industry that I think is a bit more open than, superhero movies or action movies or sci-fi or big fantasy flicks or even drama, right? You see a lot more. You see a lot more women getting involved behind the camera in horror. Yeah, and also you see a lot more stories. There's a lot more queer stories that aren't just one note. There's a lot more trans representation. There's in all the representations, not just the one thing. It's fascinating to me, but it's also such a fun community. So if you watch Joe Bob Briggs' last drive-in, Darcy is an ex-adult film star. And she's the male girl on that show. And she's, she has a lot of perspective about the porn industry too. So it's like, and if you go to Horror Fest or any of those conferences like Comic-Con, yay! This is a good moment for me to say. And also I would love to see Jenna be cast in a bunch of horror films because I think Jenna would be great in horror films and you should be in them as Final Girl.
Thank you. I should. I would love to do more mainstream acting stuff. So
yeah, no, I think you would be great. We just need to like get you in a movie. I just need to write it. I'll just write it.
Make the movie. Let's just make it.
I don't know. I feel like you're going to end up in an Addams Family movie because we love that film making family so much. If you watch some of our videos, we've interviewed Toby and her daughters and her husband. They do these great movies. Hellbender's my favorite one, but they have a new one out. They have a new one out on Shudder called Hellhole. That's very interesting, very Lovecraftian. I love Hellhole. I thought it was
didn't like
movie.
it.
You didn't like it? I liked it for the creature. The creature feature element of it was fascinating.
I like the time arc. I like the time arc and the way the story was told. My dad watched it and then called me and was like, that was fucking trippy. I think it was too arty for me.
Oh, really? Is that what he said? That's funny.
Yeah.
Does he like horror films? Does your dad like horror films?
He loves horror films.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so awesome. I'm glad that you get to share that. My family doesn't understand horror, so I have no family members that like horror films, and that makes me sad because that was such a. I love seeing people bond with their brothers and sisters and parents about horror.
Well, my dad was the one who got me into horror. So,
what was the first movie that he showed you that was horror? Do you remember? Like, what was the gateway drug to horror? How did he introduce you?
There's like a whole lot because like my dad was a huge Stephen King fan, so we watched a lot. I think maybe Christine, maybe I can't remember. But like because we read a lot of Stephen King books together, and then but I remember seeing like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that when I was really young, like really young. Yeah, I was always watching stuff like that, like so. And then I just loved watching it with him, and then it became a thing, I guess. So
that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, my dad and I bond over thrillers, which could be considered horror. Like I consider Silence of the Lambs horror, but my dad considers it a thriller, right? Because it's more of
kind of a thriller and horror, yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of crossover because it is about a serial killer. It is the horrific way that people die and so on. Like Seven could be considered a horror film, but it could also be considered a thriller. A lot of the detective based kind of horror shows, but that are not. My dad doesn't like anything supernatural. That's what he's like. I don't do that. But if it's about a serial killer or a weird kind of killings, my dad loves that stuff. So we bond over that kind of, I guess you would call it detective horror, right? Or thriller. I think it's the same thing, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not seeing the distinction between thriller and horror as much as other people do. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Like to me, like
horror,
the what?
Horror films.
Speaking of horror, I was gonna say we are coming back again next month. We are coming back to celebrate Halloween, and we will be doing a Nightmare on Elm Street, which I'm excited to do. I'm excited. I've done an episode of that on that before. I've never done it with two females, which is exciting.
I haven't done it, and I haven't watched it as an adult.
Oh, brilliant.
I only watched it like as a kid when it came out. So
yeah, great. That's even more awesome. I love that.
I saw it as a kid when it came out on VHS, and it was when it first hit Blockbuster or something at a slumber party, and it totally warped me. Like everybody else ran and like was like, I can't watch this. And everyone else left the room, and I was like, oh, I'm watching this till the end. But it was so horrifying to me as a kid. Like, so the fact that something that could attack you in your dreams, I never thought, because when you have a nightmare, you think it's real. As a kid, you really think it's real, right? You don't understand. And that just warped me. I didn't want to sleep. I was afraid to sleep after I saw that for the first time.
Yeah, I was, funnily enough, I wasn't that bothered by the film. I was more bothered by the hands. That was what bothered me. The rest didn't bother me. It was the hands.
Also, I slept on a waterbed at the time. So the waterbed scene, was that in the second one though, or the first one?
No,
the waterbed scene was in the dream.
Later, but the first one was
the third one, the Dream
Warriors one. Is it
Warriors?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was.
Johnny Depp in it, right?
Yeah, Johnny Depp's in one of them. There's a lot of actors. There's a lot of famous actors that kind of went.
Johnny Depp's the first one. It was his first, film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good in it too. He's very good in it. Yeah, the waterbed scene. Yeah, okay. Thanks for that correction because I was like, what? There's so
'cause
many
people
of these
get
movies.
confused because the scene
But
in
Johnny
the
Depp
first one,
he is in one of these, right? Because Chapter Black's
Yeah,
like
yeah, no, he is. I'm just
he's
talking
in
about the
number one.
waterbed.
he
He's
is.
in the
I
one
was
that
like,
we're
I know
doing, yeah.
Johnny Depp is in one
No,
of
he
these.
is. He is. He's in the first one. He's in the
He's in
first
the first one.
but he's
Yeah.
not the one. He's not in the waterbed one.
He's not the
one-
waterbed
no.
one. Okay.
Okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're great movies, and I love them. And the first one is the best one because it's the first one.
It is the best one. Yeah, I agree.
I
It's my
think.
favorite one.
Yeah,
The best. Of
and it's
the
also
movies.
like
And
a
I feel
different-
now I kind of want to have I think that's what I'm going to do next month. I'm going to have like a binge session and watch them all.
You
do.
have to.
You have
I
to.
love having a binge of certain ones, and like during COVID, that's all me and my housemate did every week. We picked like this is the franchise we're going to watch, and we'd watch like 2 or 3 on a weekend.
Oh yeah,
and then until we'd done them all. So yeah, we did like all the nightmares, we did all the Halloweens, we did all the Friday the 13th. We did, oh my god, I can't even think of all the ones we did. We just went nuts, and we did
I
every
will
single
tell you,
all
it
the
was
children of, all the Children of the Corns.
oh, those are good. Those are good.
Yeah, we just did
I
them
made the
every
mistake.
single-
I made the mistake of binge watching all the purges during lockdown, which
Well,
was
I've
not
done
smart,
that
'cause
too,
I was
yeah.
living in a neighborhood that could have gone very purge like. So Christopher mentioned this, and Christopher's blowing my mind in comments. He said in Edward Scissorhands, Johnny Depp rips a waterbed, and I'm
Yeah,
wondering if
Edward
that's a
does the
reference.
waterbed.
I wonder if that's a
He does.
reference to Nightmare on Elm Street, since he was in it. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together because obviously he has scissor hands in Edward Scissorhands, and it's
Oh yeah, he does because he sits on the waterbed and
yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Thanks
he
for
does.
bringing that up. I'm sorry, I call you Chris. Chapter Black, not Chris.
so maybe my little brain is like melding.
You still
those
got it in
together.
there. It's still got it in there.
You still got it.
Yeah, so
You
that
still
will
got
be
it.
fun. It's gonna be fun.
But we're
So,
gonna have
yeah,
fun
we'll be-
because I love that movie, and I cannot wait to discuss it with you guys because there's so many great moments in that movie to pick apart. So I love
many
that
good
movie so much. Yeah, that Nightmare on Elm Street was such a groundbreaking movie in itself of what a slasher movie could do, but also just I mean, there's one scene in it that will always resonate with me to this day when she looks over and she's in the classroom and she sees her best friend in a body bag trying to say something to her. And that scene freaked me out like no other scene in any horror film has ever done.
Let's save it for the episode.
No, I'm giving a teaser. Just a little teaser. A little moose boosh, a little like so yeah.
Excited.
Just a little smidgen. So yeah. But I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk about it with you guys. It's gonna be fun.
A little morsel.
No, it'll be
more
super,
so.
it will be super fun. And then so we'll be dropping those details soon. And then I'm just thinking, what else have we got? I know Bonnie and I will also be on an episode together next month. We're doing What We Do in the Shadows over at Movie Night Extravaganza. I
Yeah,
believe.
the other podcast that our
So we'll be
friends
both on
do.
that one, and then I'm doing a Bram Stoker's as well, Dracula over there as well.
Yeah, I'll be doing where we did the shower. What we did in the shower.
What we did in the shower. Yeah,
What we did in the shadows.
you might
with
have
you.
to remind me because I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm also doing an episode of The Hunger because that's my
The
favorite
Hunger.
vampire movie of all time is The Hunger. And then there's another one where Lost Boys. I have some moments about Lost Boys because I lived in Santa Cruz where it was filmed in that area. So like I got some like fun Lost Boys like experience things I'll talk about. But and also the saxophone guy I was always like obsessed with. But I there's so many great podcasts that our friends do that we do separately from this. And I feel like we're living also in an era where it's a great time to be a horror film fan because there's so many great new films coming out and new series coming out. So if anybody in comments has suggestions of movies they would love us to take a look at or suggest or recommend we watch, please leave that in the comments. I don't do a lot of call outs because you guys talk and leave so many great comments live when we're doing these shows. And also anyone watching this episode after the fact, go and look at the chat because you can read chat and see what people have said during it. But leave in the comments movies you think that we would like. Because, I mean, we do all kinds of movies. We don't just do genre films. We do classics and we do stuff from the 80s. And I would love us to do some Gallo 70s Argento kind of movies, too. So, like, we kind of do all over the place, not just new movies. We try to do movies that people can see.
Well, we must, as an absolute must, we have to do The Substance because I am dying to watch this. And I know it's going to be an amazing talk piece. So yeah. I'm really pumped for that one. I'm really pumped. And on top of that, we've got even more exciting news, which is that Jenna is coming to Australia. And so you guys will have to keep an eye out on Jenna's like Instagram and Twitter and my Instagram and Twitter. And we're going to be, I'll be like paparazziing it up of us, and you'll get to watch us having a great time.
Yes, we're going to have so much fun.
And it's also my birthday month, and she will be here for my birthday as well. So this, that's
you guys are going to have so much fun. I'm so jealous I don't get to be there with you. So you have to take lots of photos.
I have to watch you guys have dinner together and have fun. So
that's true. Jenna and I have done dinners together. So this is your time. This is your time to bond, but take photos so I can pretend I'm there.
Oh, we're going to take lots of photos. We'll have lots of fun. I'm very excited. I haven't been to Australia in 6 years. So I'm very excited to come back. And I'm very excited to finally meet Renee in person. And it just worked out perfectly because I happened to like have some extra time before I start my new job. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to take a trip. And then she's like, well, I have 5 days off during this time. And I was like, well, there you go. I'm just going to come there and hang out. And
it just worked out perfectly. And I was like,
okay. I also happen to have like a lot of Australian friends. I'm very lucky to say that. So I'm going to get all of my friends, and I'm going to be there for like 2 weeks. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Cool. Have you got anything else coming up, Jenna, as well?
I do. If you are keeping up to date with my Instagram, you may have, actually, I'm sorry, I posted that for my close friends. I didn't post it for everyone. I just completed the editing for my film, Last Dance with Jenna Haze, which is the film counterpart to the large format zine that I did with Paperwork in 2019. We are going to do a second edition. I was just talking to Mike today about the second edition. It looks like we're going to release the film in November. So all I have to do now, the film itself is done. I just need to make sure all the paperwork is in order. And then I just need to like actually get it produced and into like physical copies and out into the world. So that's very exciting. So that's going to be coming out in the next 2 months. And then I also have a photography book with James Mountford that will be coming out in a month or two after that. And then I have my creative writing book, which is going to be coming out in February. Cool. It's really strange. I've had all these projects on hold for so long, and now it feels like I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden everything's finally like moving forward and it's actually happening. It's very, very exciting. And then after that, I can focus on my memoir. But I'm also going to be doing a bunch of podcasts coming up to promote these projects that are coming out. I'm going to be doing Clementine Ford's podcast coming up when I'm in Australia, but that's actually not for these projects. That's just for other stuff.
The funsies.
And then there's, just for funsies. And then there's a bunch of other people. I have a list of actually podcasts. I'm going to go back and do Holly's again. I think I'm going to go and do Alexis Texas has one that she's invited me on. There's a bunch of different people. Toby Morse from H2O invited me on his podcast. So just keep an eye out. You'll see me talking about my life and my projects and just kind of out and about. I also have an appearance coming up in next month in October. At the end of October, I will be appearing at New Jersey Exotica Convention. And I will be there all 3 days, it's looking like. So,
cool.
Yeah. So come check me out and get an autograph. I might have early copies of Last Dance with Jenna Haze. We'll see what happens with the production. But I will have all kinds of merchandise to sell and pictures and all of that stuff. So it's a rare opportunity to get to meet me in person. So check it out.
Cool.
I think that's it.
Also, you did a music video.
Oh yeah, I did. Well, I did 2 music videos over the summer. One, they're both for the same band called Sacred Skin, which is friends of mine. And I did one called Waiting, and then where I play like a redheaded ghostly kind of appearance who causes mischief and leads the band on kind of a debaucherous journey. And then in the second one, it's called Call It Off, and I'm kind of like a disco roller queen kind of figure in the video.
Yeah, you're roller skating. It's like a cool roller skating video with you. That's amazing.
The funny thing is that they didn't get very many shots of me roller skating in the video.
Oh,
no. But that's what I'm doing in it. But there's not like actual shots of my legs roller skating, really.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Like a little bit, but not really. So it's it's a fun video. The songs are great. I really like the band. It's a band that I actually started out loving their music, and then found out we had mutual friends, and then the next thing you know, like I'm friends with them as well, and so they just asked me to be in these videos, and very cool, very fun to do.
Yeah, and also John Peterson comments says that you have great music taste as evident in your IG story post that you do where you talk about what you're listening to on Spotify. That's how I find out about new music, because I look at your IG posts, your Instagram posts see what's on Spotify. So thank you for posting that.
I'm glad you like that. Thank you, because
and Renee does it too. Renee's got great music taste
yeah.
too. So every time Renee posts something about music that if it's a band I'm not familiar with, I'll go check it out. So
sometimes I feel like am I being annoying by posting?
No,
that's what I used to think, and then I go, I don't care anymore.
I don't care either. If you go to my Instagram,
what?
My Instagram stories are mostly other people's pets, Halloween.
Yeah, you have a lot of pet stuff going on there.
I have a lot of there's this Japanese woman I think that puts her cat in wigs. I don't know why I'm obsessed with that video series, but also I post a lot of Halloween goth stuff, of course, and then music stuff, and then I will repost Renee and Jenna's stuff all the time because they're awesome, and I want to signal, I want to just look cool by knowing them, so I'll repost that stuff. But no, Instagram's not to get famous or to promote stuff. For me, it's just a happy place for me to go to be. If I can't sleep, which I'm an insomniac, I'll go on Instagram and just.
I love sharing things.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just fun to share stuff. I like Instagram to amuse myself.
Oh,
so
yeah. I do have my Nin on. Got my Nin on.
Yay! And also, we have a Instagram for Night Shift, this show. We have an Instagram that you can go and check out things. But also, you post on the Night Shift podcast Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're watching, which I think is very fascinating because it's a lot of stuff. You check in on IMDb. So we see all the horror stuff that you're watching, which is both old and new stuff. So it's a good place to go to see what we're watching.
Yeah, it's nice because sometimes I'll be like, "Ooh, what's that? I haven't heard."
I know, me too.
Yeah. It's kind of like a memory jog for me as well, because I love Letterboxd, but Letterboxd doesn't have it doesn't have the check-in facility, which I kind of like.
I do too.
I still have my IMDb because I like to check in and I like to share what I'm watching.
Yeah, me too.
So, I still use it. Even though I don't know if anyone else really uses it, I just do it. Every time I watch something, I log it.
If you're watching the show, we have socials attached to this podcast, so you can see what we're watching and talking about when we're not on the show. So check that out too. But yeah, and I don't have a lot going on because I got a regular job now, so I have a regular paycheck, which is nice. So I'm doing copywriting for Microsoft now, so that's nice. But I'll be at LA Comic-Con on Saturday night. I'll be on the Kaiju versus Giant Robot panel, talking about creature features in Godzilla, because Godzilla is my one and only soulmate. So I will be talking about Godzilla stuff. But I'm not going to be doing a lot of stuff for LA Comic-Con. So just that one panel. If you're there, say hi, or if you see me, say hi. But yeah, I'm not doing a ton of stuff. I'm writing a lot, so I'm doing a lot of projects that I can't really announce, but nothing big. I'm not writing comics for Marvel or anything. I'm in a queer comic that's coming out when we were young. That's a bunch of stories from a bunch of queer creators, artists, and writers talking about when they were younger. And mine's a fun witch story about a girl who is what I call queervoyant instead of clairvoyant, so she can find her gays in high school. And it's a very cute comic that I wrote. It's kind of like Craft, but cutesy gay Craft. But that's coming. That's already out. So I think that's come out already. This past week, I think I'm seeing Instagram posts about it. And I'm doing some writing for some of my friends' anthologies and things. So I'm still trying to do the creative side with writing, and I'm writing some books that hopefully will come out soon. But right now I'm just trying to be regular and get as far as getting a regular paycheck and not do freelance artsy life, because it was literally driving me crazy because I was worried about money constantly, and it's hard to be creative when you're worried about money. So I just have just regular tech job now, and that's fine. I love it. So, but I'm not doing a lot of appearances. I'm just doing podcasts.
Some of the best creators that I know do so.
Keep the day job.
I have a 9-to-5 job, guys. I have a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah,
if I didn't have a 9-to-5 job, I wouldn't have money and time to do the things that I want to do.
That's the thing. Sometimes you need just a regular job so you can keep your other crafts and dreams and creative side alive. So that's
and it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I hate that people have this kind of connotation that it's bad to have a full-time job.
Yeah,
you don't have to. It's whatever works for you and whatever keeps you going and keeps you involved.
And
That's
what
how
where
it
can people so you're going to be on a bunch of podcasts that you mentioned. Are you doing any conventions or anything, Renee? Or what do you
No, I just got approached by ABC Australia though to
Oh,
do
fun.
about an article I wrote in 2018 about female friendships and how a female friendship breakup is so much more
Oh, yeah.
traumatic and than a regular, relationship breakup. So yeah, they contacted me the other day actually and want me to. We're gonna have a chat next week. They're doing a huge episode or something on it. So anyway,
Good.
that'll be
That's
cool.
great. That's
So
awesome.
we'll see what
Congratulations.
happens.
Yeah.
We'll see
Keep us
I don't know
posted.
whether. Yeah, they want to talk about it and like blah, blah, blah. So I don't know whether it's just sort of like as in, hey, like some research so they can quote stuff on the show or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's pretty cool that they found the article and they loved it and whatever. So cool. If something happens.
Oh no,
to
your
happen.
article helped me through a bad best friend breakup during COVID. So thank you for writing the article.
Oh,
'Cause
yay.
that helped me a lot. And I think that's
It
because
went viral. It went viral
yeah,
here
it
in
did.
Australia. So yeah, I was like, whoa, okay. I guess a lot of people know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Because I
You
didn't
hit a
think
nerve.
anyone would get it. So I was like, okay, apparently it's not just me because everyone got it. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. But
Yeah.
thank you for getting us together again. I know it was hard to wrangle us.
Yes,
Jenna?
but we got there.
Oh, I got sleepy. I'm sorry. It's because I haven't had dinner yet.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I think we're closing out at the
We're
2-hour mark.
We are. Yeah, we're closing out. It's just we had to come back and.
I know we had to reconnect, but thank you for bringing us ladies together again. This has been awesome. I miss you guys. It's fun to talk about movies and dissect it with you guys. It was fun. And thank you guys for all your great comments in chat. Thank you for listening to us and giving us great factoids.
And always coming back in.
Yeah, we have the best viewers because you guys really do know your stuff, but also you bring up things that I don't even think about bringing up. So thank you guys for leaving such great comments in chat and great comments after the fact. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate it a lot.
Yay, I can't wait to do another one.
Yes.
Yay!
It's so good to see. Yay. All right. Next time you see us, me and Jenna will be all smiles and over here. So, and we'll be.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here holding down the fort. It's fine.
I'll just send stuff to you, Bonnie, as it's happening.
No, it's fine because Jenna and I hang out. Jenna and I have hung out too, and I'm like, I wish Renee was here, so I get it. I'm just
okay. Sometimes you guys will make me jealous, and you guys will hang out, and then I'll feel left out.
Yeah, one of these days, all three of us will be in the same room. But until then, I'm cool with sharing.
Wouldn't that be cool to do a podcast with us all three in the same room?
I know, all three.
Well, it'll happen. I have faith. It'll happen.
I just gotta come over to LA and it'll be easy to do.
And we could just do a party at my house.
Yay! Yeah, that'll be a future episode. Party at Jenna's.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
Not a horror movie party where everyone gets water.
Oh yeah, right.
Thumbs up now.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Love you all.
I do the forced smile.